Now, folks, the excitement begins to build, and obviously a lot of folks have a lot of different ideas as to who is going to be crowned the GNCC champion here at the end of 2014. As we said, 18 riders across the line here in the XC1 Pro class. A lot of money, once again, going to be staked on Chris Borich to not only take the championship, but also make history here today and several times throughout the 2014 season. However, with the great rides we saw out of Walker Fowler last year and the advancements that we saw coming out of the number 4 of Chris Bithell, and who knows what's going to happen with Adam McGill, my friends, it could be a great race. A rider that was not on my rider roster today, the 341 out of Ohio. We see that Brian Wolf has joined us on the starting line. He was not on my starting roster, and honestly, according to my starting roster, it looked a little different maybe than some of the riders running across the line, but regardless, we'll call it 19 riders across Pro Row 1 now, the XC1 class, and behind them the XC2 Pro-Am class, which will obviously have a great battle ensuing. Right now, I know that we are in the process of making sure that all of our ducks are in a row and that we are ready to go GNCC racing from a timing standpoint. We hear right now over the radios the track crew communicating back and forth about where they are in the starting sequence and how far away we are before we get this underway. And I just heard the question from Ricky Tower. He says, Melissa, are you ready? Melissa replies back, all systems go, Ricky Towery, and we are ready to go GNCC racing. As we let you guys know, we'll be ready to go GNCC racing in 1 minute, folks. 1 minute. 1 minute, and that green flag will fly, and the 2014 AMSOIL GNCC Series by Maxxis Tires will be off and rolling into history. Will Chris Borich be stopped on his road to breaking that record in time, Barry Hawk, at 68 wins total, and at the same time become the winningest ATV racer of all times? We'll find out, like we said, in just about 2 hours and 30 seconds. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down. Shut them down. Blue flags are waving. Shut them down. Shut them down. As we get set to go GNCC racing and kick off Bike Week 2014, I got to ask you, Mud Mucker race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Come on, Mud Mucker fans. I know you better than that. Are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling in our Moose Mud Mucker GNCC. Whole shot award up for grabs here today. As we roll across, it's Chris Borich, the number 1. It's the number 8 of Jeff Pickens opening up in second, but that looks like Chris Bithell getting around the 8 of Pickens now. And Bithell, they got 2 Suzukis running 1 and 2 now. So Chris Borich picks up the whole shot award as we go to the XC2 Pro-Am class now. We got Cole Richardson, and a lot of folks, a lot of eyes are going to be on him. Fred Marley, Randy Hamilton, Nathan Walpe, Blake Kramer, James Green, Brody Livingood, Jonathan Fugate, Rylan Johnson, Tom Kuntz, Luke Upaw, Mark Christopherson, Jay Humphrey, Gus Rickman, Mike Cunningham, Cody Ellison, and Marshall Goings ready to roll in 10 seconds. And the XC2 are off and rolling now. Twin Air All Balls to Racing, the Racing Whole Shot Awards. That is the 29, Brody Livingood out of West Virginia, taking the early lead in this one in the whole shot, according to what I saw anyway. Junior A 22 plus class. Coming up next, row number 3 with riders like Kinsley, also Mike Marley, Mike McVoy, Chuck Norris, Tom Valetti, Robbie Picarin. We've got Matthew Lamberti, Trent Johnson, Austin Parks, Kevin Patterson, Adam Upaw, Matthew King, Ben Bruce, Doug Harden, and 10 seconds. And around the first turn we go. Second turn now, it's the number 31, Michael Marley. Marley out of Osgood, Indiana, grabbing the early lead in this one as we go next to the Vet A. This is a 28-plus class in this vet division. Riders Todd Demery at 42 years old in this Vet A 28-plus class, the one to beat, actually. He's riding the number 39. We also got William White, Nick Carnelli, also Bill Marstiller, Jeremy Fontaine, Richie Brown, Danny Thompson, Brian Swartz, Tom Jansky, John Cunningham, Robbie Keith, Walt Shoemaker, Jamie McCartan, Matt Pearson. 10 seconds. And Demery gets off a good jump off the line. The question is, will he hold that lead as they roll into the second turn? And it is Demery. All Demery with Pierce right behind him in that number 2 spot now. Next row, College A, 16 to 21. We've got Kevin McCohen, Blake Torrance, Levi Cohen, Clint Graff, Billy Hartman, Spencer Modlin, Derek Pitzer, Doug Howard, Michael Frederick, Cameron Bruce, Tristan Huffman, Jacob Tomley, Gage Rickman, Greg Covert, Stephen Covert. We've got Dwight Pollard, Anthony Herring, and Mitch Miller. 18 riders, College A, and 10 seconds. Trying to snag a number off of this early leader out here. I'm not 100% sure who our College A leader is, but rolling next to the Senior AB 38-plus class, we got John Galata, Aaron Delancey, Leroy Shook, Jeffrey Flynn, Martin Whitty, David Kite, Chuck Horton, and also Rusty Repass. 8 riders, Senior AB, riders 38 years of age or older. I expect to see this class be a huge class when we hit Georgia here next weekend. But right now, we're ready to roll in 10 seconds. And they're off. Green flag is up. I would say kick starts are down, but I think a lot of these guys are using electric starts now, so we are rolling through the first couple of turns. And who's going to be the man out front on the mission today? Egads. It could be a number of guys. We got a couple of Honda pilots battling it out up front in that Senior AB class. We'll check in with them momentarily. Right now, though, we're going to the Junior B 22-plus class. Jesse Kelly, Jake Thomas, Kenneth Kelly, Cameron Rogers, Simon Bissell, John Krebs, also Brent Ertl, James Black, and Brian Toney. Junior B 22-plus class getting set to roll. Round the first turn, Junior B 22-plus class now. Oh! One rider with his number on. That was a 599 of Brent Ertl that I could tell there. Vet B 30-plus class. Folks, don't forget, if you haven't picked up your tickets and your bus passes for the Supercross tonight, stop over and see Miss Rita at rider registration. Right now, Vet B 30-plus class. Sam Lamp, Thomas Barrett, Jeremy Gishard, Cliff Val, Daniel Webb, Phil Cole, Stephen Barber, and Matthew Bender. Less than 10 now. And they're off. 773, Phil Cole from Pixatawa, New Jersey. First into the first turn, and as we head into the second turn and out of it, it's the 773 of Cole holding steady up front now. College B, 16 to 21-year-old class getting set to roll next. And we've got riders like Tyler McDaniel, Cole Smith, Michael Spalding, Matt Thomas, Brad Pearson, Brandon Eichert, Christopher Schinker, Corey Kozlowski, Cameron Yockey, Andrew Donahue, Dustin Burkhammer, Corey Silverthorne, Anthony Barnes, Bo Cagle, Levi Metzinger, Kirkland Best, and Jeremy Hill in less than 10 seconds. And they're off. Final row of the day. Whoa, a nice clean start for every class, if I'm not mistaken, as the 1982 National Hare Scramble champion, and of course our own GNCC sweep maestro Tommy Harris makes his way onto the course behind our ATV riders and gets set to follow these guys into the wild wonder of this Mud Mucker GNCC, and we'll be back to find out how it's all unfolding in just a moment, right after this on Racer TV.
News for the rest of those riders out there, because we know that Chris Borch is definitely, once he gets out front, he's hard man to stop. So we're still waiting to see what the running order is as these riders come through. Like I said, Chris Borch started off in the lead. There was a crowd of dust and a lot of fast riders behind him.
Yeah, I think with Chris getting the start, that's going to be trouble for the rest of them. But you know what? Every guy out there knows that you can be beat. You know, Chris is a great rider, but he can be beat. And I'm sure all them other guys worked hard all winter, trained real hard, and they're down here to show Chris that they are ready. So it's going to be a dogfight out there. I don't think, you know, he's going to get away from those guys. They're all going to dig deep, and they're all going to catch him and let him lead the way. You know, it's always easier to key off a person and follow, especially at the beginning of the race, and, you know, not play your cards too early, just stay in that front pack.
So in GNCC racing, if those of you watching us on RacerTV.com, if you're not familiar with how it works, these ATV pro and top amateur riders that are out there right now, they're going to be riding for 2 hours, Fred. And I know you're a motorcycle guy. You guys are used to riding for 3 hours. But I think that when you're out there for 2 hours, a lot more, you know, you have to have a little bit of a strategy out there. And I know these guys are really big into that. They don't want to let it all hang in the first lap. They want to maybe let somebody lead for a little bit, and everybody will take turns for a while. It's like a cat and mouse game, exactly. So that's pretty cool. You know, we're here in Bunnell, Florida. We're only 25 minutes from Daytona. It's pretty cool. This is our first time here at the Mud Muckers event, at the Mud Muckers facility, I should say. We did get a little bit of rain. It's a little bit muddy here, true to the Mud Muckers name. What do you think these guys are experiencing out there on the track?
Well, right now, I think they've got some high ground and some low ground. They're going to be up on some nice sand, and then they're going to drop them off into the Mud Mucker, you know, some black dirt, that they're going to get some, you know, a lot of mud on them, but it's going to be good because the ground, particularly here in Florida, is usually real sandy and it gets real deep and sand whooped out. And with this dirt being hard like that, it's going to hold it tighter, and the bumps aren't going to get as bad, but they're going to get a little bit of square edge to them. So that's going to be a little bit more physical. And you talk about the bikes riding 3 hours and a quad riding 2 hours. You know, when I always did, I'm thinking, you know, the quads, they should man up and ride 3 hours. Well, you go out there in a quad for 2 hours, it's like you rode for 4 hours because you cannot find a smooth line. On a bike, we can nick a corner here or there, get through those tight trees. Those guys are out there in those deep bumps for the whole time, and my hat's off to them.
Yeah, now we got to remember we did have an 8 a.m. race this morning. We had a lot of youth riders out there. 10 a.m. we had a whole bunch more of the amateur riders out there. We had the top 4x4 riders. We had a ton of people out there on the track. So after talking with those guys and girls in the morning, I know there's a lot of deep ruts out there. It's probably not too easy to pass once you get stuck in some of those lines. I know they can get deep, and you're almost like on a train rail. You can't really get out of there. So you know, that's going to probably be the most difficult thing of the day, I would say, is for those guys to pass and get around one another. It looks like here on our RacerTV.com screen, we're getting a view of the pits. We see a lot of cool new sponsors like Lazy Days RV. We've got the Alco cleaning products. You see Liat there in the corner. You know, Pro Row there. We see the Yamaha setup, Walker Fowler's pits. We got the Bike Pro Row all down the other side. So this first event, Fred, this is like a festival. Everybody's got their brand new stuff out, the new banners, the new signs. It's pretty exciting. You
know, everybody's been caged up in, you know, up north somewhere in the snow, and everybody just cannot wait to get down here. And it's something everybody looks forward to. You know, the first race of the year is an awesome place to be, and everybody's got new stuff, like you said, and everybody just wants to show their stuff. And one other thing, too, about the sand races are, even though, you know, if you walk the track and it looks like it's smooth, the sand never stays smooth, so the track changes so much every lap, and it's going to get rougher and rougher. And, you know, for the bike guys tomorrow, it's even going to be rough. So these quad guys are just trying to find little lines, like you said, and they're maybe following each other, but they're looking for lines, and, man, it's going to be a long day for those guys.
You know, so you being a racer, you know how the woods work, you know this. What do you think the kind of, what are going to be the prime passing opportunities here? Where are people going to be looking to make those moves?
Well, some of the mud holes here I think are going to get pretty wide and pretty deep, you know, but sometimes the water fills up and they're not as deep in the middle as what you think. And if you got a spotter out there or somebody, you know, maybe you can go through the middle and pass them, or instead of going on the edges. But probably most of the spots are going to be in the open fields. If you can get a good drive on somebody and get out on some smooth ground, maybe you can get some good traction and carry your speed and pass them. But I think it's going to be the guys that get tired. You know, the guys that's going to be in shape, and it's a physical race, they're going to be the there at the end of the race.
Yeah, you know, talking with the morning racers after the 10 a.m. Race, they were saying normally there's always tons of fans out there that are pulling us through. They're like, we were looking for them, but we couldn't find them. So fans, any of you that are here in the pro pits, this is not the place to be. You need to go find those mud holes and help those riders through, because that might be the deciding factor. Your favorite rider might get stuck out there, and they're going to need your help. So I think the racers would definitely appreciate it. You'll get some really good spectating views if you make your way out to the woods.
Yeah, I saw a couple guys from this morning class walk by, and they were mud head to toe. So I know it's out there, and it's a new facility too. So everybody kind of doesn't know where to go, and they kind of start walking. So if anybody knows where some good spots are, you know, they need to pass around the pits and get some people out there, because that's where the excitement is.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Fred, we're joined here by Rodney Tomlin. Rodney, you just booked it up from the starts. I know you had a lot of good action down there, so I'm going to dip out and pass it over to you. Do you need some water?
Please. No, I'm good. Thanks to my good friends at Can-Am, I had a ride all the way over. So not a big deal, but I tell you what is a big deal is the kickoff to the 2014 season. And, again, thanks, Jen, for helping cover things here till we get things off and rolling. Still looking for our leaders out there on the still looking for the leaders out there on the course, and as soon as we get a bird's eye view on that, we'll let you know. We got camera updates coming in from several different areas, actually. We've got, I believe, the 2 mile marker somewhere out near the 2 Griff, and the 3, the 7, and the 9, and the finish, which would be close to the 12-mile mark. It's close to a 12-mile race right now. And we are just some 18 minutes or so into this race according to timing and scoring, and welcoming once again Fred Andrews to the broadcast booth, the GNCCLive here at RacerTV.com. And Fred, big day here today. You know, after rolling in yesterday and being all around Florida, one had to wonder, were we going to be able to see any beautiful Florida sunshine? I told him yesterday that we were keeping it under wraps because we didn't want to shock them too bad after being down here in Florida and being up north, coming down here to Florida. So we eased it in on them here today, man. And what a beautiful blue sky we're looking at, man. I mean, perfect weather conditions that way. And actually, even with the track being muddy, Mud Mucker GNCC, I think we've got, for the most part, perfect conditions as we kick off the season.
Yeah, we came up from up north, you know, and everybody came down here, and they let their car doors open and let all that cold air out yesterday, so that's what ruined it for us. You know, I was down here last week, and it was beautiful, and this is what Florida's about. You never quite know what's going to happen, but on a day like today, the sun's shining. I mean, we got mud flying everywhere. We got four-wheelers going on, and everybody's just so happy to be here, Rodney.
They are, and we've got the bike guys rolling in. I know you guys came in yesterday and last night. A lot of the two-wheelers for tomorrow's racing action. A lot of them getting geared up for practice today. We've actually got a separate practice track, and traditionally we do a day of practice, a day of race, a day of practice, a day of race. But this year we actually did practice on Friday for the ATVs, and we're going to be racing the ATVs right now. And also right now is motorcycle practice going on from 1 to 2, I believe it is, and that is going to be, or 1 to 3, I'm sorry, and that is going to be amateur practice, and then following that will be the pro class practice. Now, the WXC, if you want to practice with the pros, you can practice with the pros, or you can practice with the amateur. That is completely your choice. And Fred, I'm hearing off in the distance, man, it sounds like that quite possibly we're looking at these machines getting a little closer. I know we were looking at lap time somewhere in the neighborhood of about 27 minutes or so this morning. Track's a little bit longer, and we're only, according to my calculations, somewhere close to 20 minutes or so right now.
And you know, Rodney, even though those laps are 27, it's going to get longer as the day goes on because it's going to get rougher and rougher, and those guys are going to start to get a little bit tired. And from seeing on the screen, I see there is a lot of water out there, so that's going to make from some excitement. I think, you know, those guys are going to be picking some really good lines today, and that's going to be the difference.
Big difference, and I know that, you know, a lot of folks think that speed wins the race, and oftentimes it does, but in a situation like this, especially in the sands of Florida, man, with a race only a week away and the conditions as brutal as they can get down here sometimes, man, you've got to play your cards right this first round. A win might not necessarily translate into good things the following week if you burn yourself out here today.
Yeah, that sand is really, really hard on your body. I mean, it's twice as hard as it is on dirt, and if you dig really deep and give it your all today, you know, you may not have time to recover for the weekend. But luckily, you know, we got a whole week now, so these guys are in good shape, and I think they can give it their all today and still recoup and be ready. Your hands are the big thing down here. From, you know, the lack of riding, your hands get all blistered up after today. So that's the biggest factor those guys really have to worry about today. I don't think they're conditioning. I think they're all set to go. And like I said,
it's funny that you mentioned that, the hands, because if you remember a couple of years ago, guy from an ATV rider up from your neck of the woods, Brian Wolf, remember he was slated to be one of the top dogs 2 years ago, and after the event in Florida, he got he had a blister and he got infected, and that literally shot his entire season because he had hand problems all year long because of that infection. So you've got to be really careful this opening round.
Yeah, and if you remember, one year David Knight came for the motorcycle, and he dug deep, and he won on Sunday, and then his hands were so bad he couldn't even ride at Georgia the next weekend. So your hands are something you really don't think about till you get down here, and your gloves get wet, and the sand gets in there, and your hands working the grip, and you're in trouble.
Wow, the riders now heading towards the pro pits. We'll be picking them up at the 9-mile marker. I think they're out near the 7 right now for watching that big, long field section. And oh, the 9 is the field section. All right, then that means that they'll be coming into the pro pits right after this then. Okay, great.
Actually, they go through the finish, then the pits are like over.
Oh, the pits are the one. They're after the, okay. Normally they're right before the finish line, so this time they're right after. That makes a lot of sense then. That'll give us in queue. As you can tell, I did not ride the track yesterday. I was busy trying to make sure that we were up and rolling. But, yeah, the 1-mile marker is the pro pits. Then we've got the 3, the 7, the 9, and obviously the finish. So the next time we see these riders, they will be coming into the finish line region. And, Fred, I didn't check anything out on the monitor there, but I know that Chris Borch opened up with the lead. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Bithell had snuck in right behind him just before they left the start region out there. And I would assume that those guys would probably be close to the front, if not in the front right now.
Yeah, right now we can see them on the screen, and, man, they got mud all over them. It's really hard to tell who's who. With all them wheel up. This track kind of reminds me of Okeechobee a little bit. It's got these nice big grass fields where it looks like maybe you can get just a little bit of rest, and the woods are going to be really deep sand. And it looks like, yep, there goes another one. It looks like, yep, they're all getting a little bit muddy out there.
Yeah, they are. You can see a lot of clay. It looks like a lot of clay base in this sandy soil at the same time, too. I mean, that's a little bit different than what we've seen in the past, I think.
Yeah, that's not something you usually see in Florida, is that clay. We always think of just the sand getting deeper and deeper and deeper, but here it looks like we got a little bit of base to work with, so maybe you will get a little bit of rest in the fields. Nice
big open section. You know, one thing I haven't heard a lot about, and generally whenever we come to a GNCC in Florida, is palmettos. That's one thing I haven't heard anybody mention so far this weekend.
Yeah, they're out there somewhere. I mean, I've never seen a place in Florida that didn't have them, but man, I don't know. There's a couple right there you can see in the screen. And, palmettos are really bad on the motorcycle part. These four-wheeler guys, they do the same thing. You just kind of got to bounce off them, get through them the best you can. And, it looks like Chris Borch is leading right now, I think.
Hey, a big shout-out to Haley Henthorne, who is soon to be Mrs. McGill, back home with her dog, watching GNCC Live on RacerTV.com. I want to say thanks to her for tweeting it out, and you too can tweet out and be sure and hashtag it GNCC Live. Also, hashtag Mucker, and that should put them all together, and I think that will make for an interesting trend, to say the least. Here's our leaders coming in now, it looks like, Fred.
Yeah, I'm not sure who was leading on the Suzuki, but that was...
that was Bithell out front with Borch in second. No, actually, it says Brian Wolf was running second. All right, we might be having some transponder issues. So I think that was Borch that came through in second. Then we're looking at Wolf, and we see Walker Fowler is also checked in with us now aboard the number 2 machine. Other riders checking in with us include the likes of Brent Sturdivant, Landon Wolf, one of our rookies. He's back in the number 6 spot. Jared McClure back with us aboard the number 10. He's running in the number 7 spot out of Casca, Pennsylvania. Jeffrey Pickens, Big Papa P out of Shamoka, PA, is running 8th. Kevin Yoho in the number 5 ride out of Hopedale, Ohio. It's the number 11, the rookie that skipped the XC2 Pro-Am class straight to the XC1 Pro class. The 11 of Jay Shadron opens up in 10th place out of Mount Pleasant, PA. And then we look 11th, Braden Henthorne, 12th, Josh Merritt. Something I want to point out, look at the deficits. The biggest gap we have right now, Fred, is 12 seconds. That is between Chris Borch and Walker Fowler right now. The other biggest gap is 6. So we're looking anywhere from 3 to 4 to 1.2 to 9 seconds. I mean, this is a tightly knit group, it looks like, as they came through the finish line on this first lap.
Yeah, these guys aren't letting anybody get out in front and get a big lead today. They're all staying close. If you can see a guy, you can hang with him, and that's part of it. And they're keeping it tight and going to let the race come to them.
And speaking of race coming to them, that race is coming to us actually right now. We should be seeing these riders check in near this 1 mile marker here shortly, as Plenty of the XC2 Pro-Am riders are starting to make their way into the finish line region now. I think I've seen Marshall Goings going through there and Fred Marley and the few boys, so they've got a few things going on as far as the XC2 Pro-Am class is concerned. I'm hearing them get closer. It sounds like the XC1 Pro are nearly here at the 1 mile marker, and we're going to get to see for sure just how far ahead Chris Bithell and Chris Borch is ahead of the rest of the pack. And there goes Bithell. Bithell down through the Pro pits right now. Second place right in front of the Razor TV studios. I believe that's still Wolf in the number 2 spot with Borch back in the number 3 position. We see one rider coming into the pits, and that
looks like he wiped off his gloves. I see they're coming in. Looks like Walker Fowler stopping for some gloves, and no, he's in and he's out.
Wow, that's pretty interesting right there. I mean, you're in Florida and you're stopping on the first lap because of mud. How often does that happen? Well, riders.
And I noticed a lot of these guys are really, really muddy, so there's definitely some nice big mud holes out there.
Jay Shadron in, he got a new fresh pair of goggles, and I imagine with these guys running as tightly knit as they are right now, there's going to be a lot of goggle changes, a lot of glove changes, and this is where it becomes critical to try to salvage those hands as much as possible.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, those gloves out there. You got to keep your hands dry, and that way you don't get them blisters, and man, is it muddy.
Wow, I am just amazed. I'm saying, I could tell by your voice, Fred, you're like, wow, is it? It's hard to believe. I mean, we can't even tell. I mean, as well as we know these guys, new numbers, new sponsors, new graphics, it's hard to really tell who's who as they make their way down through Pro Row in the Pro pits right now.
You know, in some of the pictures, the grass looks so nice out there, but the woods are really muddy.
And, you know, we're even starting to see a little bit of dust in some of those open field sections. I think you can really say that we've got a true mix of everything to open up the GNCC here. You know, we've seen mud holes in Florida, but not mainly mud holes like what we're looking at here right now. We got, is that the number 5 in, I believe? No, that wasn't.
Yeah, right now with those number plates being so covered up, it's really hard to see who's who.
It is, and in the meantime, let's go ahead and break down class by class. Fred, you can watch pit road here and see what's going on. See if anything. That was Bryson Neal, I think, going by there. Where is he in the XC1 Pro class right now? Bryson Neal checked in 15th place, man, the XC2 Pro-Am champ. That might have been the reason he was giving that funny face to his team over there whenever he went by, thinking, okay, guys, I blew it this time. I'm just going to go out and have some fun. That could be a good advantage for that young rookie right now. Now that he's blown it on the first lap, he can go out and have fun and just do what he knows how to do, man, ride his ATV like he always has in the past.
Well, that and sometimes, too, it'll spark a little fire in you knowing that you messed up and you got to get to the front, and you can dig real deep and you can push hard and get to the front. And, you know, you start passing people out there. When you're passing people, your confidence keeps on growing and growing, and you keep on charging forward. You know, this is not our typical Florida track. There's a lot of hard ground out there with a little bit of grass. It's something we're nice to seeing on TV.
Well, Bithell on the Suzuki continues to lead in the XC1 Pro class. We got, looks like Brian Wolf, Chris Borch, Walker Fowler, Brent Sturdivant, your top 5. A little change as they came through the pits. I think Sturdivant had the stop, Fowler had the stop. Not sure if there was as many passes taking place during that time, but nonetheless, some big changes. Cole Richardson, the hot shoe in the XC2 Pro-Am class that so many folks are putting and banking money on here. Well, that young man is out front leading this one aboard the number 15 out of Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. Just look at, hey, you want to say, hey, to Bobby Timko from down at Moto Tees, the official event souvenir supplier of GNCC. If you haven't got your Chris Bithell, Chris Borch event souvenir shirts, you need to do so, my friends, as we are live on the World Wide Web. say hi to the people out there in GNCC Live land. I just happened to look up on the monitor to see what was going on there, and there we are. But we got Cole Richardson, we got Marshall Goings, we got Tommy Kuntz Jr. running in third, Fred Marley is fourth, and looks like Cody Ellis in the 747 is fifth in the XC2 Pro-Am class. We got sixth place, the 29 Brody Livingood. I think Livingood might have got the whole shot, or come pretty doggone close anyway. The 21 Randy Hamilton is seventh. Eighth place Break Kramer is there. Ninth is, looks like 352, Rylan Johnson. And we got the 10 ride, 726 of Michael Cunningham. I think a new ride, a new player in the XC2 Pro-Am class from what memory serves me. College A class, only a couple College A riders in. We're so used to seeing Shadron and all those guys back there in that College A class, and right now we've only got two in. It's Clint Graff, the number 48 from Harrisville, Pennsylvania. Kevin McCohen, the 27 out of Upper Marlboro, Maryland, running in second. In the number 3 spot, it's the 706 Dwight Pollard out of Clayton, Georgia. Fourth place, Levi Cohen aboard the number 44. He's out of Millfield, Ohio. In fifth spot, Anthony Herring out of St. Mary's, West Virginia. That's your top 5. College A, sixth place checked in. Mitch Miller just checked in. And we'll go back and check in with those guys in a moment. Junior A actually started on row 3. Michael Marley leading that one. He got the whole shot. McAvoy running in second. He's on the 41. Marley's on the 31. The 28, Wes Kinsley, is third. Doug Harden, the 788, is fourth. 519, Matthew King running in fifth. Sixth place, Matthew Lamberti Jr. Seventh place, Tommy Valetti, the 101. Eighth spot, Austin Parks. Ninth spot, the 717, Ben Bruce. And rounding out the top 10, it's Walker, Texas Ranger himself, Chuck Norris. Bet A 28 plus. It's Danny Thompson, a 360 from Elma, New York. We got Matt Pierce running second in that division aboard the 939 out of Corning, Ohio. The 39, Todd Demery for Sales, Indiana, is third. Fourth place, 161, Nick Camilli out of New Concord, North Carolina. Bill Marstiller, the 311 out of Morgantown, West Virginia. Sixth place, James McCart out of Milford, Ohio. He's 855. 728 and seventh, Walter Schumacher out of West Mansfield, Ohio, with Jeremy Fontana checking in just a moment ago in eighth. Aboard the 351 out of Southbridge, Massachusetts. Brookville, Connecticut's Tom Jansky right behind him on the 411. I'd almost have to think those guys are probably out riding together right now in that Bet A class. Up out of the New England area. Senior AB 38 plus class, Rusty Repass 704 leading now in second spot. The 051 Leroy Shook out of Old Fields, West Virginia. Third spot 38 John Glottis Sr. out of Saddle River, New Jersey. His son raced earlier in the 10 o'clock race. The 49 Aaron Delancey out of St. Louisville, Ohio. All right, Senior AB 38 plus repass, Shook, Glotta, and Delancey, as we said. We're now into the B classes, and we'll check in with those guys in a moment. Fred, I know you've been sitting here watching this. Look at that big hole of water right there.
You know, Rodney, I'm surprised that there's a lot of water out there, and they're coming through, and it's really not digging up, so the ground's really hard.
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. We don't see the ruts that we normally see.
No, you know, usually you get those deep ruts and the long ones, but it looks looking pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of times on a trail like this, it's like riding train tracks out there for those guys, man. They get down in those two ruts, and they just basically follow those along. There goes the great Johnny Gallagher, 20 years celebrating as a pro rider. He started in the 90s, raced in the 2000s, and also here in the 2010s. 3 decades, 20 years. Turned 36 years old yesterday, and the guy seems to get a better number every year, man. I think by the time he reaches 40, he might get his first championship.
No, that goes to show, you know, he's learning. He loves this sport, and his heart's in it so much. Even though he's getting older, he still can find that drive to dig deep and get in better and better shape, because once you start to get older, man, you got to work twice as hard. As I found out I got to the end of my career, it's harder to get in shape and run with these young guys. And I noticed in the picture it looked like Bithell was a little bit ahead of Borish, but they wasn't letting him get away.
Now, that's one thing they're not going to do, especially early on in the race. And I don't know that Bithell is necessarily trying to get away at this point. I got to wonder if maybe these first 2 laps he's just going to pace out and try to keep a good enough pace and see what everybody's going to do behind him, whether they're going to try to stay with him or not. But I think lap 3, 4, and if we go into lap 5, we're going to see Chris Bithell really start to light things up and make things exciting here after this second lap on 3 and possibly even lap 4. But right now it is pretty exciting. It's only going to get more and more exciting as the day rolls on. We are now 36.5 minutes into our Mud Mucker GNCC, and we'll be back with more GNCC Live right after this. And welcome back to GNCC Live on RacerTV.com. Rodney Tomlin, Fred Andrews, Jen Kenyon, and the whole GNCC Racing Nation here, live from beautiful sunshiny Florida at the Mud Mucker Ranch in Bunnell, Florida. And, wow, it's round number 1 of the GNCC where Chris Bithell continues to lead. We are now nearly 40 minutes into this race. Bithell with Borage and also Brian Wolf and Adam McGill all in the hunt there. Walker Fowler trying to be in the hunt as well. And also just want to welcome everybody out as we, of course, always know that Bike Week seems to bring out a lot of familiar faces and a lot of the industry crowd here into the GNCC Racing Nation. One of those guys is one that we've known from motocross from many, many years ago and off-road racing. It's the one Bevo Forte, and of course now with 100% goggles. Welcome, Bevo, to GNCC Live and the GNCC Nation, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rodney, it's a beautiful day down here, and if you're not here, you're really missing something. But I'm watching myself on this TV screen, and I got to take my hat off for Racer TV. I mean, when I first started coming to these things, it was on 8mm cameras, and boy, you guys got high def, and I mean, it's pretty impressive what has been done to this sport.
It most certainly has, and I think it's as impressive as what you've been able to do to this sport as well, man, through working in the industry. I know that one thing that you've taken pride in for years is making sure that people can see well, they have protected eyes and things like that, and stepping in with 100% a couple of years ago, which stepped into GNCC Racing wholeheartedly the way that you guys has, man, is a perfect fit, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the conditions out there, goggles seem to be a pretty important thing out there. I mean, you can only go as fast as you can see, and Fred will testify. I mean, he'll back me up on that statement. You could have the fastest bike and the best suspension, but your vision's the most important thing.
For sure. Now, Bevo, you've been coming to Bike Week for many, many years. You've been in the industry a long time. I mean, what's some of the coolest things that you think about Bike Week down here?
Well, I think the coolest thing is that you can come over here in the afternoon and watch the GNCC, the quads, and then go back to the Daytona and watch the Supercross tonight, and then come back tomorrow and watch the bikes in the GNCC. For me, that's great. Last year, I had to commute like 150 miles every day, but it's great that, you know, GNC is a big part of the motorcycle industry, and it should be here right next to Daytona where it is, and so people can enjoy all the racing when they're down here.
For sure. And what's going on 100%, man? I mean, you guys got those great goggles and great hats, by the way, and sweatshirts.
I think he's trying to get a hat when he said the great hat part.
Yeah, so do I, you know. But Rodney still has some protection on the top of his head. Me, unfortunately, I have no protection. But anyway, we're introducing a new motocross racer's glove, excuse me, that will be out in the end of March. It's a lightweight glove, and we put a lot of technology in it, and we're pretty happy about the results.
Sweet, man. So expansion, that's what we always like to see, expanding. Bevo Forte from 100%. Welcome out to the GNCC and enjoy the ATV racing, man.
Well, it's great to be here. You know, like I said, this is my 41st year coming down to Daytona, and I know I don't look that old, but that's how old I am. But I mean, it's great to see the enthusiasm out here. It's great to see basically the sun. That's always a good thing to see. I live in Pennsylvania, and as Fred was talking about, we definitely had cabin fever up there this year. So this is really a great break for us. And I'd just like to thank Racer TV and also the Coombs family for putting a lot of effort into this and elevating this sport, and mostly letting us be a part of it. That's really good for us. And one final word, God bless America.
Amen, man. Amen. And thank you for being a part of the GNCC Racing Nation for sure. Bevo Forte, again, once again, from 100%. Glad to have him. And Fred, we're watching this battle unfold out here right now on GNCC Live. And there's another one of those big water holes. But it looks like there's some ways around that. That's a true whoop section right there, looks like.
Yeah, well, you see, you know, they got that water out there and nobody wants to go in it, so that line to the right, it's getting rougher and rougher and rougher out there, and they're hanging in tight, you know, and it's getting a lot sandier than I thought it would be out there.
Now, I got to ask, was that a man-made whoop section, or was that made by machines alone, man? That looks about as perfect as any whoops I've ever seen.
I'd have to say that's one of them spots I talked about in the sand. You know, first time I ever went to Florida, I raced on flat ground. I thought, man, this is going to be easy. But that sand, it gets whooped up the more and more you ride it, and that stuff's just going to get deeper and deeper and deeper as the day goes on.
What I'm only seeing there, it looks like there's a lot of non-swimmers out there. They're definitely not trying to go through that big water hole.
For sure. And keeping the long way around out there and keeping an eye on things. Still no change out front. Chris Bithell continues to lead. We talked about some of those A classes a few moments ago. Looks like our B classes have began checking in now. So let's check in with those real quick to give you an idea of what's going on. Cole Smith leading the College B class. He's the 113 out of St. Mary's, West Virginia. You got Tyler McDaniel out of Parkersburg, West Virginia, running in second. Jeremy Hill, he's out of Pacific, Maryland. The 911 is third. Fourth place, 199, Michael Spalding out of Rising Sun, Maryland. Fifth place is Anthony Barnes from Paw Paw, Wyoming on the 707. There's number 6, Bo Cagle out of Brevard, North Carolina. Seventh place, the 505, Andrew Donahue out of China Grove, North Carolina. Talking about the China Grove. I love that town, man. Also talking about not only China Grove, but we're talking about places like Polka, West Virginia, home of the world-famous Polka Dots, and also home of Dustin Buckhammer, the number 532 Honda pilot in 8th place. 9th spot is the 423 Bad Pearson out of Eleanor, West Virginia.
Hello.
Actually, it says Elmore, but it's Eleanor. I know it's close to where I was born. Junior B 22-plus class, we got Kenneth Kelly out front. Kenny Kelly riding the 355 out of Daly, West Virginia. Second spot, 499, Simon Bissell out of Lewiston, New York. Third spot, 601, James Black from Whitney Point, New York. We got fourth place, Cameron Rogers out of Eastman, Georgia. Fifth spot is Brian Toney out of Cannon, Georgia on the 629. Sixth place, Brent Ertl out of Osgood, Indiana on the 599. And seventh spot, Jesse Kelly from Daly, West Virginia. I think we got a couple of Kelly boys out there in that class. Kenneth is leading, and Jesse running back in seventh. Vet B class, Phil Cole out front of this one. Is that another Phil Cole? We got a Cole Smith. Okay, that's what it is. Phil Cole out front of this one. Jeremy Gouchard is running second. By the way, Cole is from New Jersey. Mansfield, Ohio, home for Jeremy Gouchard. We've got Daniel Webb out of Middletown, Maryland, running third. Matthew Binder is out of Kernersville, North Carolina, in fourth. Cliff Vow in fifth out of Marshall, Virginia. Sixth spot, Stephen Barber out of West Camp, New York. And that's a look at the top riders in each class as they make their way through, and shouldn't be too much longer. We'll be seeing the leaders due in here for a second lap complete. We are about 40, well, I'm looking at 44.5 minutes and 47 minutes on two different screens here right now. So we're somewhere around 45 minutes, Fred. How's that sound?
That sounds good. Looks to me like there's about time that they might be getting a little tired out there. It's man, that sand was rough back in that last section we watched. And you can see even through those fields now, they're starting to get big, giant holes where it looked like it was smooth before. They're getting some big holes out there.
You know, we talked about Chris Bithell and the speed that he was carrying and wondering whether or not he was just trying to hold a pace. One thing I got to point out about Chris got injured late in the season last year, had a shoulder injury at the ITP Powerline Park GNCC last year, and actually finished that race, but he didn't race the Ironman. Set most of the winter off. He told me he hasn't been down that much riding. But I will say this, a couple of guys told me they saw him riding a two-wheeler, and they say he is faster, if not faster on two wheels as he is on four wheels. So Chris Bithell, if nothing else, has got the right mindset coming into this one. He's having fun. He seems to be light and airy in the pits, a lot less serious than we've seen him in the past. I think that he's finally found his groove out there.
Yeah, you know, a lot of it's got to do with the rider's heart. You know, they can really dig deep. A rider can dig deep. Even if he's not in the best shape, if you're feeling that day, you can just dig down deep and you can make things happen out there.
I think one rider that's proven that on a couple of different occasions is Brian Wolf, in all honesty, a rider that has traditionally not been in the best of shape, except for the one year that he couldn't ride because of the injured hand. But all the other years, Brian has never necessarily been in the most peak physical condition, but somehow or another, he's always able to dig deep enough to get a good race or two in throughout the season.
Yeah, sometimes on that one given day when everything's going perfect for you and you just, you know, you're on top of your game, it can happen. And, you know, we're talking about Bithell being in the lead. You know, Borge, he kind of, from the past, he just kind of likes to follow and let things play, and he likes to keep close. And, He likes to pounce on them on the last lap, I've always noticed. So,
spoiler alert, huh?
Yeah, you can never count him out. He just kind of hangs out, and then he pounces like a cat.
Well, there you go, and you spoil it for everybody, Fred, but I think everybody are. Yeah, that is, I mean, it's a patented move, man. I mean, even kids on the podium said he boriched me. I mean, it's become a verb, you know what I mean? That's pretty impressive.
Yes,
and that
is
is our leaders coming through right there. That is Chris Bithell, that is Chris Borich. They are 2 seconds apart there at the finish line, Fred Andrews. And what happened to Brian Wolf out there? Let's see if that's him, if he's able to hold pace or not. They check in with us, and we have got now Walker Fowler up to third. Fowler's moved up a couple of spots since then. Remember, he stopped, looked like maybe some goggles and or gloves or something over there, but whatever he did freshened him up enough to get him back into pace there, it looks like. So we've got Bithell, Borich, and Fowler. Remember how tightly knit they were a lap ago? Totally different scenario. Fowler 18 seconds behind Borich. Again, Bithell and Borich are still pretty nip and tuck, and they're going to push themselves all the way down to the very end, I think, in this one. But I think they're going to pull far and away from the rest of the field in the process, even Walker Fowler.
Yeah, you know, the two leaders, they're racing each other, and Walker, you know, he did kind of stop at the pits, but he kind of stop and go. I don't think they were ready for him to come in, so he just said, oh, forget it, I'm going to go on. And you can see whatever he stopped for, he didn't need, because now he's up into third, and he looks like he's putting in a good ride.
He sure does. Jerry McClure is checked in now in the number 4 ride, the number 10 around Brian Wolf. Adam McGill, don't know what's going on with that rider. He is currently listed in 6th, but he hasn't checked in yet at the finish line, so there could be some changes there. Here's Brent Sturdivant was there, Landon Wolf, Jeffrey Pickens, Kevin Yoho were all top 10. Jay Shadra was running in 11th place. 12th place, Braden Henthorne. Josh Merritt was 13th. 14th, Cole Richardson. That was overall, and that's your XC2 Pro-Am rider leading there. And we've got more of our XC1 riders in. McClure, followed by Kevin Yoho, followed by McGill in 6th now. Jay Shadron is up to 7th place. He was running 11th. Remember, we said, though, they were nip and tuck. They were very tight, nose to tail, basically, coming in through the finish line there. So that's not inconceivable to think that Jay couldn't do it, man. And he did it. He did it. It looks like he did it with some authority as a rookie, too. Got around guys like Brian Wolf, got around Brent Sturdivant, and a few other folks, man. Now, that's pretty impressive stuff. So Jay could be a player in this race today for a top 5 overall ride. And looking at the gaps, 33 seconds between Fowler and McClure, another 30 seconds back to Yoho, only 6 seconds back to McGill, another 8 seconds back to Shadron. Lap times, 24:22 by Bithell, 24:16 by Chris Borich, 24:23 by Walker Fowler. So looks like Borich has the fastest lap by 6 seconds, it appears, Fred.
Yeah, it looks like he closed up a little bit on Bithell right there. I noticed they all stopped that time for gas. I saw Walker Fowler stop, get gas and goggles, and he's back out underway. And things are starting to stretch out a little bit here. I'm a little surprised. I thought these guys would, stay a little bit closer. But, with these quads, it takes one guy to get stuck, and then they got to try to get around them. They lose a little bit of time.
Time is something you don't want to lose on a day like today, but if you're going to lose it, now is the time to lose it, because the next half of the race is when you want to try to make up for any lost ground and capitalize on everybody else's mistake. Is that Pickens coming out of the pro pits over there looking down at his machine like he's got some sort of problem, I think?
Yeah, I noticed everybody's starting to get goggles. And like Bevo said, once you lose your sight, you're in trouble. And the main thing, they're getting goggles, some gas, and everybody's going back out there to do battle again. I see out in this field, I noticed there's a real big hole out there. It keeps on getting deeper and deeper. The guys are getting, put up on the front wheels higher and higher. So it's definitely starting to get rough.
It is a heck of a kicker. There's no doubt about it. There is Jay Shadron in right now at the pits. He's getting fuel, a quick splash of gas, looks like fresh goggles. And I don't know if he got fresh gloves or not, man, but Shadron in and out and gone, man. That's a quick pit stop for that crew.
Yeah, it's important to those pit crew. Those guys work just as hard as the riders sometimes. Everybody wants to be the fastest pit crew out there, get their guy in and out as quick as they can. And it looks like everybody's been practicing.
Well, we've seen a rider throw some goggles over into the Walker Fowler's pits. That was not Walker Fowler, so you don't have to think that he was coming back through the pits just to toss his goggles in. But nonetheless... Yeah,
and you can see Walker Fowler's pit crew. They're focused on a rider coming in. They're not noticing anything else helping around them. They're just waiting.
So Bethel, Borge, Fowler. You know, that might not have been Shadron in there in the pits. I thought that was Jay Shadron checking in a couple of moments ago. I may be mistaken, but, you know, I'm looking here and I'm seeing, you know, we always like to talk about XC2 and overall times and stuff like that. Well, the Pro-Am class, Cole Richardson running in 8th place overall right now after time adjustments. Just to give you an idea, Richardson just turned a 25.28, was actually 3 seconds slower than Shadron, but Shadron's making up for some lost ground out there, so I expect to see Shadron actually move up a position or two over the course of the next lap or two.
You know, sometimes those XC2 guys have it a little bit better than XC1, you know, because they're catching people every time they go around the corner. They're catching a guy, and that's keeping them motivated to keep them going forward. So it's not unusual for an XC2 guy to be really up in the top 10 anymore.
And we've even seen it, especially in this ATV division. And, of course, oh, okay, sounds like Jen Kenyon is standing by. Got a update from over in the pits. All right, sorry about that. We're having some sort of technical difficulty. We'll figure out what's going on with the mic. And sometimes new mic system, it's still a little finicky. Now she's back on. All right, let's head back on over to Jen Kenyon. It didn't work now. I'm looking right at her. Oh, man. We'll give Jen just a couple of seconds. Pull the batteries out and put them back in. That might fix it. I think it went on automatic mute. Sometimes that happens. But nonetheless, Fred, like we said, man, look at that shot right there. I mean, there's not a lot of action, but I think that's a true indication of what the Florida sunshine is like today. A nice little breeze. People walk around in shorts and short sleeves and just enjoying a great spring-like day here in beautiful, sunshiny Florida. It's a great time to be here.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for a better day today. The sun's shining. You know, we're not up in the snow. The wind's blowing a little bit, helping dry the track out. Everybody's having fun. The track's not really super rough like normal. There's some nice grass fields, and it definitely is a nice day to be on a quad.
Love being on a quad. And, Jen, come over here and get this mic. I'll trade you. Is it going to work? All right, Jen, try it again.
Check.
Oh, yeah, you're there.
Hallelujah. All right, Rodney, we were talking about XC2 Pro-Am guys. We saw Walker Fowler's pit getting all ready for another rider. Cole Richardson is actually a teammate on the NFAB Yamaha Ampro Yamaha team this year. So those guys, after Walker comes through, it's a new thing for them to also be fueling and pitting Cole Richardson, who is running really well right now. So it's kind of cool to see Walker have a teammate this year and actually have another guy on blue getting some support in the Pro-Am class.
For sure, and good update there, man. I tell you, Jen, it looks like they're pretty excited, man. They got Walker up there in a top position, and they got their rookie or their first-year rider leading the XC2 Pro-Am. What's the mindset over there in that pit like?
You know, before the race, talking with the Walker Fowler pits, I think Walker's just as excited to have a teammate who's doing well as he is about himself and his own program. So it's really cool to see that additional excitement. Obviously, training with Walker, the number 2 guy, it's really paying off for Cole as he's doing so well in the Pro-Am class. So I think it's going to be a great addition for both riders to be able to push each other and work together to try to get 2 championships over there under the blue tent.
All right, Jen, that's cool. Check in with the folks down at Shadron, but I'd like to know how the rookie's doing and what he's saying, because, man, he's making up some big times out there, it looks like, Fred Andrews, and that's exciting. I'm excited to see that rookie doing so well out here. And there's that big kicker jump you were talking about. Guys are starting to slow down for it. Some are. Those that aren't, like you said, they're finding their tails over their heads real fast. And fortunately, I haven't seen anybody go over the bars just yet.
No, that's a good thing. You know, like you said, it's nice to see the young guys coming up because we know our sport's still growing. You know, somebody's got to take the top guy spots, and it's neat when you can see a guy coming through and you can watch him come up and know that he's going to be the next guy.
You know, we talk about the youth ranks being our farm for our GNCC champions, future champions, and we've known that for the bike side of things for several years. We've watched Charlie, Thad, Caleb, all those guys grow up through the youth ranks, amateur ranks, into the pro ranks, and now we're starting to see that in the ATV side of things. Jay Shadron, Walker Fowler, all basically the first graduates of the the youth divisions out there. And, man, it's good to see that those guys are coming on so strong here in the XC1 class so quickly. And, again, folks, if you're just tuning in to RacerTV.com for GNCC Live for the first time, you're not familiar with it, I'll tell you right now, it's a sport the entire family can participate in. I'm talking mom, dad, little brother, sister, grandma, grandpa. Everybody has a role here at the GNCC.
Yeah, you know, like you said, you got plenty of things. You can have a gas crew guy, you can have a pit board guy. You can have your umbrella girl, have your girlfriend out there with you. It's just, and there's so much excitement. There's so many nice people here at the races, so you can always find a friend and always find somebody to hang out with and enjoy the event.
And Chris Bithell continues to lead. We're checking in with that big, long field section out there now. And we are 57 minutes into this one, working on an hour of GNCC racing for the kickoff of the 2014 AMSOIL GNCC Series presented by Maxxis Tires and AMA National Championship. I want to remind folks, if you're here at the racetrack and you want to go to the Daytona Supercross, we've got tickets for you. Stop by Rider Registration and see Rita to buy a Supercross ticket for tonight's big race. General admission tickets are $30, and Racer Productions is providing a bus to and from Daytona International Speedway for just $10. So be sure and check that out. Well, I tell you what, we're watching the Florida sunshine. We're checking everything out. It's beautiful. Everybody's in a panic and a frantic right now around us, Fred, but I think me and you are probably the two coolest, calmest dudes around right now. I'm having a blast, and I tell you what, we're going to have more of a blast, and you can do it with us. You can check back in with us as GNCC Live continues here on RacerTV.com right after this.
Twins have notoriously been very hard on crankshafts because that big long stroke with his two cylinders just flexes the crankshaft around. So we were seeing bearing issues. Research development people at AMSOIL could show us that it was likely an oil problem. And they were correct. That was the issue. Instead of having to redesign the engine, I just had to do a better quality oil.
Sometimes you come across something so different, you just have to stop and check it out. The Rocky Mountain ATV MC website has everything you need, from our huge selection of tires, ATV and UTV accessories, and OEM parts, to our online chat, customer reviews, and instructional videos. Our extensive inventory means most orders arrive in 3 days or less. Get low prices, quick shipping, and incredible customer service. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Find your flow with Maxxis Tires.
You know, here at Ampro factory team, you know, we've been using the Evans products probably 5+ years, no issues. I mean, that's one thing we know we can count on for as cooling. I mean, this year we had a radiator to get a hole knocked in. We lost probably 2/3 of our coolant, our Evans, and the bike, we still didn't have a bike failure. We feel like we have an advantage on our competitors, especially when races get really tough, technical, and the bikes overheat. We really don't have any kind of problems.
And we're back here at the Mud Mucker ATV Ranch for this Mud Mucker GNCC. It's all being brought to you by your friends at Moose Racing here this weekend. And Moose got the big transporter down there, full-color catalogs, all the great things on display. Racers, riders, everybody stop down, check them out, and see what they have and what they'll be offering here in the 2014 season. Fred, welcome back here to Florida, and just to give the ATV riders an idea of who Fred Andrews is, you're 1993 motorcycle champion, you're a former motocross star, and actually in 1993 was whenever you first started GNCC Racing, and you won the championship that year, man. You've been here ever since.
Yeah, Ronnie, it was a great thing I did back then. I came into the GNCC family in 1993, battled with Scott Summers. I was a cocky motocross guy, and he was the king back then, and him and I had a few run-ins. It was great for the sport. It was great for me and him. And, man, I've been here a long time, and I'm really happy to still be around and be here.
And we're glad to have you here as well. I know, Fred, that you were very instrumental in that Pro Lights program for the XC2 motorcycle guys, a class that has built some pretty good racing in the XC1 class, I think.
Yeah, you know, most of the guys that have been in that class that have won it or been a top contender are now on the big teams. You know, they are the factory guys, and that was our goal, to kind of be a groomer to get people ready for the big teams. And it's worked out good, and it's also given a chance for the guy who wants to come to a race that's a local top area guy. He doesn't have to step in with the XC1 class. You know, he can jump in XC2 and have a chance to win and show his stuff. So it's been a great thing, and we're happy to stick with it.
Approaching now an hour and 6 minutes into this race, Chris Bithell continues to lead. Chris Borich, at last check, only a couple of seconds separating the duo of the new Killer Bees that are out here with us, Bithell and Borich. And, of course, we got Fowler was still back in third. McClure was fourth. Yoho was fifth. Shadron, though, was the man on the move. The rookie was moving up through the ranks, and I'm going to be very interested to see exactly where this young man can find himself here at the end of lap number 3.
You know, Rodney, I've noticed that it looks like the mud's not as gotten all thrown out of the way, because the guys aren't coming around as muddy as they were in the beginning, and I noticed their goggles are staying a little bit cleaner, so that's a good sign.
It definitely is a good sign. Not so good of a sign is for Brian Wolf. We wondered what happened to Wolfman. Well, I'll tell you what happened. It looks like he smoked a clutch. They said he's in trying to change some clutch plates and things like that. They said when they brought it in, it was literally smoking hot. So Wolf's going to try to get back out there on that. Tough break for him, man, because he got off to such a good start. And, man, that's kind of wild to smoke a clutch on the first lap. He must have really been pushing things pretty hard out there, Fred.
Yeah, you know, a couple of different things could have happened. He could have got a stick or something wedged in there, and it really wasn't releasing all the way. But, you know, usually you're right. It doesn't really happen that bad. Or he could have even put a hole in the case and lost his oil, you know. But it's a tough break for Brian to come all the way down here and have some bad luck right off the get-go.
Well, I know if anybody can fight back from it, it's going to be Brian Wolf. The one thing about it is, you know, we've seen Brian take things serious in years past. I talked to him in the offseason, actually, at the GNCC banquet this year, and he told me, he said, you know, I'm going to go racing this year. He goes, but it's not going to be anything serious. It's just going to be, I'm going to go out, I'm just going to ride my races, I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to enjoy what I can of racing, because I've got a family, I've got a job, and that's what it is. It's all about the fun from this point on, and I think that Brian was having fun on that first lap, and who's to say he won't be having fun once he gets back out there in a few moments also.
Yeah, Rodney, that's why we all got into this sport, because we love to ride a four-wheeler, we love to ride a motorcycle, and, you know, as we got better and better, everybody wants to move to the next level, and he's moved all the way up to the pro ranks, and if he's doing the best he can, and he knows, you know, he's never really going to make a living at it, and he has a great job, and he comes out here and still has fun. That's what it's all about, having fun.
Well, Bithell and Borich had 18 seconds over Fowler. We're now 5 minutes away from seeing lap number 3 complete, when we're expecting to see that an hour and 8 minutes, 8.5 minutes now into this race, and less than 50 minutes, about 50 minutes or so. And with that, man, I mean, this is the home stretch for them all. And, you know, some riders have already taking advantage of the home stretch from earlier this morning. As a matter of fact, as we saw some great youth racing earlier with without the addition of Hunter Hart and some of the familiar names that we're used to seeing, it actually became a whole new youth race, I think, when it was all said and done.
We're joined here by today's youth overall winner, Brandon Frazier. Brandon, you're a Florida kid. You won in front of the hometown crowd. How cool is that?
Amazing.
Now, since you're a Florida boy, are you used to this much mud?
Not really. This is actually one of the muddiest races, or muddiest Florida races.
Talk about the track a little bit. I know we're seeing a lot of guys come off the track covered in mud. Obviously, you made it through those conditions and came out with the win. Just talk about the track and what you thought of it.
The track was all muddy. There was like no sections that wasn't muddy. There were so many people broke out there. It was crazy trying to get around lappers, and the mud was everywhere.
All right, did you get a good start out there?
Yeah, I got second, then I passed Sadie. Right out here on this corner over here.
All right, that's pretty cool that you're battling with a girl out there.
I know, right?
All right, well, good job out there, and we're looking forward to seeing you get some more overalls this season.
Thank you.
That's pretty neat, Fred. I mean, battling with a girl. I saw Sadie Welch take the whole shot this morning off that front row, and I thought, uh-oh, this girl is going to win some overalls here in 2014. I honestly thought she was going to win the day, but the guy stepped it up and made her work for it. But don't be surprised if little Sadie doesn't do it pretty good. But good job, Brandon Frazier, man. Him and Rhett Cox and the guys had a really, really great battle this morning as far as youth racing is concerned. And like we said, Fred, that's what lays the groundwork for what we're seeing out here right now in these XC1 and XC2 Pro classes. We're looking into the Pro pits right now. That's Bryson Neal, is not? I believe it is over in the pits. Or at least that's Bryson Neal's pits itself, whether or not that's him being pit stopped. Looks like a number 9 to me.
Here, as you can see, he came in and got himself some gas, fresh goggles, and he's ready to get back out there.
Well, remember, we talked about him. He was running way back off the pace there. 12th place. Actually, 13th place is what he checked in there that time. So, again, he's not in any major hurries, man. I think he's going to salvage what he can out of this day, and that's not a bad idea. I mean, if you can finish, you can win the war of attrition. If you can finish this race, sometimes it might pay off in huger dividends than racing your heart out right now, because you might be able to get past a few people that might make some mistakes on those last lap and a half or so.
Yeah, you know, Florida is always the hardest race of the year. Everybody says, well, if we can just get through Florida, we can do good the rest of the year, because it's the first race of the year. Anything can happen. It's just, this is it. This is the hump of the year. Get through the first one, and it's all good from there.
So we should be seeing our leaders check in here in a minute or so, Fred. I'm watching the finish line along with everyone. And again, I'm with you, man. Looks like there are, the track, it's got its rough spots out there in those fields, I think. But all in all, man, that is one of the smoother open field sections for Florida I've ever seen.
Yes, it is. It gives him a little bit of chance to rest in the woods if the woods are rust. But, that just means them guys are going to be going faster and faster out there in the fields because they're not getting as rough. And, man, I look for this last half of the race. It's going to set the tone here shortly. When this 2-lap board comes out, a lot of things are going to happen. It most certainly is. It's looking like, timing-wise, we're looking at lap times 24 minutes or so. And I'm thinking that maybe they might be, like you said, a 2-lap board getting ready to come out. So that means that this will be a 5-lap race when it's all said and done. So this is where the things get down to the nitty-gritty. And this is where we get to see whether or not Chris Bithell was able to train enough to keep Chris Borich at bay as far as from a physical standpoint of conditioning. And at the same time, I don't think speed's much of a question at this point, unless it's the last lap. And a lot of things, like we say, Chris Borich gets borched. He turns into the Borich there on the last lap and just gets crazy out there. Yeah, where are they coming right now to the 2-lap board? It's Bithell, and Borich is just falling right behind him. We'll let him be there to see if Walker Fowl is losing time in the game in time. And actually, it looks like Walker is catching him.
Yeah, he's now only 5.8 seconds back. So Bithell and Borich, 1.4 seconds separating the two. We got Walker Fowler in the number 3 spot, 5.8 seconds back. Lap times 24:32. So Bithell running pretty consistent, I think, as far as that lap time is concerned. 24:31, slowing down Chris Borich. Borich running just a second faster, so he turned to 23:16 last time at 23:31 or 24:31. So actually, it was 24:16, not 23. I'm really making him fast there, I think. But regardless, what I'm saying is Chris is still the fastest, only by a second, but still is carrying the most speed so far for XC1 Pro riders. We see that McClure is due to check in. He was 33 seconds behind at the end of lap number 2. And as we approach basically the halfway point of this race, Fred, man, this field is really stretched out quite a bit. And this is not traditional what we see in ATV racing. You've been around enough to know, man. We're used to seeing speaking of nose-to-tail stuff, I mean, we're used to seeing nose-to-tail stuff through the first, well, until the white flag flies. It's so much different today, man. I mean, just everything about this race, the feeling, the way these guys are riding, is so much different to kick off 2014.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's happening like that today, but, you know, one big advantage to having these big grass fields is the riders can actually see the guys. Even if they are, like Walker's maybe 6 seconds behind, he can see them a few corners ahead or just look over his shoulder and see them, and that gives you extra motivation. So these grass fields really help out the guys that are putting the charge on towards the end of the race. They can see the guys ahead of them. They can say, oh, I am catching them. They can get you that little bit extra drive to pull them to the front.
Well, I'm watching the finish line right now, Fred Andrews, and still 4th place has yet to check in. McClure was 30 seconds back. Was that our leaders? Yep, sure was. Leaders going through the pro pits right there. There's Walker Fowler. He is actually stopping right now. Fowler's taking gas. He's getting fresh goggles. What about gloves?
And actually, I think Borich stopped for goggles, too, and some more gas.
Yeah, I might have missed that. So there goes Fowler out now.
And I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know. I don't think Bithell did stop. And the big thing here is, you know, in Florida, typically in the sand, your bike uses a lot more fuel because it's got that drag on the motor from all that deep sand. So it'll be interesting to see if, you know, they really should have stopped or not.
All right, now I know Jen Kenyon is over combing the pits, talking with different folks and trying to get the lowdown on what's going on. I know some of the questions I got right now. What happened to McClure? What happened to Yoho? What happened to Adam McGill, man? Those guys should have all checked in at the finish line by now. It's been well over 2 minutes, man, and there was not that much time that separated those guys. And I know that Jen may have a question or an answer to some of those questions as she's standing by over in the pits right now with a big old smile on her face at the Precision Racing Products team pits of one Adam McGill. Jen?
Sorry, Rodney, I don't have many answers for you about what happened to the other guys, but I did find Chris Bithell's pit crew. They're nice and bright yellow. You can't miss them. We are all wondering why Chris blew past the pits. What's your strategy going into this middle end to the race?
We actually pitted on lap 2 knowing that we should be able to finish the race from that point, so we figured if we can get him comfortable on the first 2 laps and then let him make the final charge towards the end. We know he's got the speed, so we'll see if he can wrap it up.
Okay, so you're saying that he won't come back through again?
He should have already made his 1 stop, so he should be good to go.
All right, now do you guys make these decisions, or does the rider have anything to do? Do you guys have any kind of like code, like when he comes through? Is it just all you guys are saying, don't stop this lap, if we're not out there, don't come by?
No, he's been doing this long enough. He knows what he wants. He had a pre-race game plan to stop on lap 2, knowing that he could make it from that point, so that's what he told us to do, so we were ready for him.
Okay, so now most of these guys that are stopping for goggles, obviously they're not out front. So right now Chris has that big advantage. I know there's probably some lappers out there, but he's obviously able to keep his eyes pretty clean.
Yeah, we tried to give him goggles on lap 2, but he declined them, so he's running on the original set he started the race on.
You know, one thing I learned about Chris Bithell is that if he wants to do something, which right now it's win a race, he's going to go out there and win a race.
Well, that's what we told him. You know, he had a little bit less preseason training, and we go, you can do it if you believe in yourself, and that's what he's showing right now.
All right, well, it sounds like he's well on his way, Rodney. We're going to see what happens here. We got a little bit longer to go.
All righty. Thanks a lot, Jen Ken, for that update, man. That was some pretty good questions that were answered right there about Chris Bithell and what his strategy is going to be and what the rest of the day is going to be. So we know what to expect out of Chris Bithell, and we know what to expect out of Chris Borch. They've made their stops. Walker Fowler's made his stops. It's all go now to the checker flag, and that's going to be the exciting thing, I think, Fred.
Yeah, and Chris's mechanic is 100% right. If you believe in yourself and you want to do it, you will do it. No matter how tired he gets, he's going to dig a little bit deeper, and he's going to make it happen.
Well, let's see if he can make it happen. Let's see if he really, truly does believe in himself that deeply. We'll find out the answer to that question and more when Racer TV continues with GNCC Live right after this. And welcome back to the Mud Mucker ATV Ranch and Park. Of course, this is the Moose Racing Mud Mucker GNCC, the kickoff to the 2014 AMSOIL GNCC Racing Championship presented by Maxxis at AMA National Championship. And Rodney Tommel along with Fred Andrews, Jen Kenyon out running around as well today. And wow, ATV racing at its best right now, my friends. Look at all these ATV fanatics that are in the house with us right now. Lots of folks in from over at Bike Week here in 2014. As Fred, once again, we're only moments away from Daytona and the heart of it all right now as far as Bike Week is concerned.
Yeah, it's a great thing to be here. They can ride their bikes up here from Daytona and hang out and watch some racing, and because everybody comes down Daytona for motorcycle racing or ATV racing, and it's nonstop. You can watch us race, you can watch a Supercross race, you can come back tomorrow and watch the motorcycles race. It's race, race, race here in Daytona.
Working on lap number 4 right now, an hour and nearly 23 minutes into this race, and got that update in there a few moments ago, Fred Andrews, about Chris Bithell and only doing the one pit stop. You made mention there that we've seen both Walker Fowler and Chris Borch stop twice already, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they just stopped maybe just to get goggles and they went ahead and gave them just a splash of fuel to get going, for the last 2 laps. It's interesting that they stopped and did get some fuel, and, Bithell, he must have his pit strategy down pretty good, knows how much fuel he's burning, and we'll see how if he can make it to the finish without needing any more.
For sure. And, wow, what's that going on down there at the end of the pits there? Jen Kenyon standing by. Jen is going to give us a feed on what's going on. We're seeing somebody push. I don't know if that's Cole Richardson or what's going on over there. Jen, what's happening?
Rodney, it's easy to be confused. You've got Walker Fowler's Ampro Yamaha team trying to bump start Adam McGill. He looks like he stopped here at the end of the pits. Not quite sure what's going on. We got a lot of guys around, all different types of teams. They've taken the seat off of his ATV. They're looking at something. Maybe it's electrical. Maybe you got some water in the air box there. I'm not too sure.
Wow. That's something cool about GNCC racing. You see the crews that aren't even part of him over there trying to help him, trying to get him back going in the race. And, that's really a nice thing to see.
Oh, man, you can tell he is not a bit happy right now. He is one of the most animated GNCC racers of all time. And that's pretty good. I mean, even in a frustrating moment like that, he takes a moment to actually joke around with the cameraman. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that kind of takes a little bit of frustration out. He's really, really depressed that his bike's broke. But, he's showing that he's a true racer and he's here to have fun. And he wants you to know that things are good and he'll be ready for next week.
I wonder if Jen can get a word in with him while they're working on that thing, because I'd really like to know what's going on out there right now. I know Jen's heading on down that way right now, and Jen, he's throwing mud balls at people and everything else. And they're working on it, and if they can get it going, we'll let him go. But he might have to be rude and step away. But it looks like Adam's got his helmet off, and Jen is right there. And we're going to send it on down to Jen Kenyon and see what's going on there.
All right, Rodney, we're down here with Adam McGill. Adam, if you can take a couple minutes to talk to us, what's going on here?
Holy piss. It's so bad out there. Honestly, I've never run. I mean, all the Florida races I've run, this is probably the closest to Palaca I've ever seen. And, man, it's a mess. I don't know why we came here, but it's a mud park, and I give them that. They got the mud. But, man, it's not very good racing out there. It's a survival race is all it is right now. So, the Honda put up a good fight, but it's done.
All right, so it doesn't look like you're going to be going back out. Can you tell us what's going on here? We see it's smoking a little bit. Are you overheating?
Yeah, it's definitely overheating. Like I said, there's a lot of mud out there. And this is the practice bike of mine. Baldwin built me a good motor and my race bike, and I went to practice, and I was just, I wasn't going to come out here and destroy a good bike. And, I'd rather have this one quit on me. It's just my beater bike. So, we'll take it as it comes, and we'll just see what happens. The bike was doing well. We got third on the start and was running up front. It died in a water hole and come back up, ended up blading through some mud. I guess you'd say Brian Wolfing it, just plowing through that stuff, and got up front again. I think I was up into third, and then try working up from there, but you know, it's survival. The only place to pass or in the fields or somebody gets stuck. I've never ever run anything like it. It's just power. It's like Powerline Park, but in the sand.
All right, so you say it's a survival race. We know that track conditions aren't the most favorable out there, but what do you think it's going to take? Chris Bithell, those guys they're making it through, but what do you think is going to be that deciding factor at the end of this?
I truly think whoever comes out in the winning spot is the last guy to get stuck. I mean, them guys are making it through, and we're making it through. I mean, we seem to be making it through pretty good, but man, it's just the bottom's going away and everything, and every line, every time you come here, you know, each line is different. So, I mean, we come out here, we give it the best we could. I'm really bummed that this happened, but you know, we got 12 more rounds to make it happen. So, and like I said, you know, we've been training all winter. Me and Braden Henthorne working our ass off down here in the sand and in the hot, and then, I mean, it's like Barry threw us a curveball. We got mud and we have cool weather, so I've never expected anything like this to come from Florida. But, you know, like I said, it says it in the name. It's mud muckers. So, I mean, if whoever is the last guy to get stuck is the guy that's going to win. And it's literally from the time we go out of sight to the time we come back, it's on your toes, creeping. And them guys, they're riding good. And, I mean, you know, they built bikes and all that good stuff. And, you know, I'm trying to run a bike that I've beat on all winter. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, you know, we'll come to Georgia. I know what I got to do for Georgia. And we got a brand-new bike coming in that round. So we'll see what's up.
All right, Adam, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and the best of luck for the next 12 rounds.
It's getting a little consolation there. That's hilarious, Fred. You know, hearing Adam talk, I can't believe they brought us to a place like this, man. This is muddy Florida, man. I can think of probably some other, maybe a race in particular that might have been a little rougher, maybe.
Yeah, I think Adam's never been to Blackwater on 100. This place is a walk in the park compared to that place. I mean, you had mud holes, you had giant hills, and that's the toughest race in America, man. It's a shame we can't go back there because it was tough.
Yeah, then Adam would be saying, wow, man, this is not so bad out there. But, you know, the neat thing about that, Adam's side of the coin is one side. Chris Bithell, on the other hand, has got to be saying right now, man, I love this place. This is the most awesome track, the most awesome facility we've ever been in. I love the different opinions, the way that we get them out there.
Oh, yeah. You know, every race you win at, man, you're ready to come back the next year, and it was great. And if you did bad or got stuck, oh, you hated it. So that's the joy of racing. You know, One day you're on top of the world, the next day you're stuck in a mud hole. So you never know what's going to happen, and that could happen today, too. That's
for sure. And, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to take away some good memories no matter what. I think that's what the Blackwater did. The roughest, toughest race people have ever ran in their life. Some of them would only go out and try to make one lap. If they made one lap, they felt like they won. And that's obviously not the conditions here, but that's where GNCC racing came from, man, and that's the root of it all. And I think it's good to get back to the grassroots like this, you know?
Yeah, it's great to have a nice mud race like this, you know, because, like
wow,
you said,
that was Yoho's machine
it's not
there.
The fastest guy always wins. You have to be smart out there. You have to preserve your motorcycle. You have to make sure it finishes. You know, sometimes it is a survival race.
Jen Kenyon, I think I just saw Kevin Yoho's bike being pulled in. Am I right?
Yeah, Rodney, unfortunately, you're right. Kevin Yoho's here in the pits with us. It looks like you got towed in. Kevin, what happened?
I think I ran out of gas. Well, I thought I did, and I got some gas off a dirt bike guy. I really appreciate that. And I got going again, and it must have cooled off enough to run a little bit, and then it must have blew up. And so the radiator just got packed full of mud and stuff. So it's just...
Man, that's a bummer to see. You were running really well up there. Talk about, I know the track conditions aren't favorable, but talk about how, you know, what's going on out there in the woods.
A lot of it, half of it's probably decent, you know, normal Florida. It's actually not as rough as most of them, like River Ranch and De Leon Springs and them, but then it's just a slop hole the rest of it, and there's just not much you can do.
All right, well, Kevin, it's a bummer. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and we'll see you back at it in Georgia.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jen. Whole different perspective there from Jared. He says half of it's pretty good. It's just like, and then the other. I think it's funny what people take away from that. You know, the different perspectives that people have on this. And my perspective on it is, I think it's a great start to a new championship season. We are now an hour and 30 minutes into this race. We are looking at our leaders checking in within the next 7 to 8 minutes or so there at the finish line, Fred, and that means that the white flag will be coming out. Last check, we still had Bithell and Borich running nose to tail. They were a second and a half apart, but remember, Borich had stopped in the pits real quick and then got back out. But we also got to point out Borich has been turning the fastest lap time the last 2 laps consistently. If he does that for a third consecutive lap, this could really be tight whenever they come back around the finish line. And that last lap, we could be setting up for the patented Boric whenever the white flag does fly.
You know, it's the one thing that Chris is faster and Chris can catch him, but can Chris get around him? You know, there's not a lot of room out there to pass on a quad like you can on a motorcycle. You know, you can have a little line here or there. You can try to do it on a quad. You're pretty much nose to tail unless you really have a faster bike to get around the straight or he messes up with a lap guy. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens out there.
Well, again, you know, typically in Florida, you hear people talking about the horrendous palmetto roots. That's the one thing that I have not heard mentioned one time so far this weekend, the first palmetto root story at all. As we take a look at this, we're about 30 minutes out or so, probably more like 35 minutes out or so from a checker flag. But regardless, we're going to take a look at the way things are breaking down in the overall right now. Bithell, Borch, Fowler. Cole Richardson now, the XC2 Pro-Am guy, is all the way up into a 4th place overall spot on time adjustments. We've got Adam McGill was running 5th before he had his problem over there, so you can scratch him and take him out of that. That's actually going to move Marshall Goings up into a 5th place overall. And we had Josh Merritt back in 7th. We had Johnny Gallagher in 8th. Jared McClure in 9th. Braden Henthorne in 10th. So we got a couple of top Pro-Am guys in the top 5 overall right now, which is pretty impressive with that of the young Cole Richardson and Marshall Goings. And, you know, still the players that we expected out front, including Bithell and Borch. Of course, Jen Kenyon had a chance to talk with some of those guys before the race got underway. And a lot of folks, I haven't really had a chance to talk with Chris Borch. He's been kind of quiet for the most part. Been training his butt off with guys like Chad Weenan and Johnny Gallagher, Andrew DeLong, Chris Bach, and a few other guys. They've been going at it in the training compound, but we have not heard anything away out of the mouth of Chris Borch himself until now. Jen Kenyon caught up with him this morning.
During my preseason training, we've been down here in Florida for about the past 2.5 months. Been hitting a lot of motocross tracks and hitting a little bit of woods. Feeling good. I mean, I've been really working hard. We've been having a lot of guys down riding with us. Chad Weenan, pro motocross guy, he's been at the house training with us and road biking, running. You name it, we're trying to do it and put the time in for this first round here at the Mud Muckers in Florida here. So looking forward to it. I mean, seems like we put the time in and the effort and got the bike styled in. So can't wait for the green flag to drop and see where we're at.
Well, right there we have the look of things from Chris Borch. Chris Borch, obviously, quiet confidence, training hard. He had a mission, and that was to come and do the absolute best that he could absolutely do and win a 6th championship, become the winningest ATV and GNCC racer of all time. He could do that. He could become the winningest ATV racer in time for the all-time wins record today. It looks like we got some more commotion going on over in the pits. I believe Jen Kenyon may be standing by over near that area. Jen, can you see what's going on over there?
Rodney, I can't see a whole lot. I do know this is Jay Shadron's pits. They have the seat off of his ATV as well. They're wrenching on some things. It looks like they're trying to start it. Adam McGill is over here. Maybe you can give us some insight.
Yeah, it looks like his plastic's blue. That's one problem that we've seen. We're trying to fix that, so going to clean it off. And maybe his chain's a little tight.
All right, well, it looks like they are looking inside the motor, maybe some electrical things, possibly an overheat as well. There's a lot of water out there. I don't know what to say.
I don't think that has anything to do with the color of the machine, though, does it?
Yeah, Adam is, you know.
Dogging on the blue, I know.
Yeah.
That's all right. How's Jay? Can you get a word in with Jay? Will he give us a second? I know it's a pretty frustrating moment for him right now.
Yeah, yep. Rodney, we're joined over here. Jay, do you know what's going on with your bike there?
We're thinking that the motor locked up. It was carrying on since the first lap, and it was a hard time keeping it running, and it shut off on me out in the woods, and Barry gave me a pull start, and I got it back to here. So I think we're done.
You're done for the day? You don't think there's a chance to go back out?
No, there's no way to get it back running again.
All right, well, that sure is a bummer. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Jay Shadron in his first full XC1 season debut. We saw him here before. He did really well. We've got high expectations, so hopefully we'll see him back here in Georgia.
For sure. I believe that we most certainly will. We saw some action going on there on the Pro Pits, Fred. That looked like Braden Henthorn actually going the wrong way on Pro Row. What happened there, man?
I'm thinking he missed his pit right there and had to spin around, and they pitted him backwards, and he spun back around and took off.
I guess got to save time as much as you can whenever you make a little mistake like that. And taking a look at the way things are going, we're 3 laps down. We're about a minute and a half from seeing the 4th lap complete and a white flag come out. Last check, Bithell, Borich, Fowler, 1, 2, and 3. Richardson again was 4th overall with Marshall Goings moving into the number 5 ride overall. Josh Merritt, XC1 Rookie Pro, was running 6th, followed by Johnny Gallagher, Jared McClure, Braden Henthorn, and Bryson Neal to round out the top 10. That's saying something for Neal. Remember, Neal was back in 17th or 18th at one point, moved up to 15th and 14th, and now he's already broken into the top 10, into a 9th place. Actually, in class, he's about 8th place right now. So, Freddie, that's pretty impressive if you think about it.
No, you know, that's really impressive. It's probably what I've been thinking about what Kevin Yoho said about how some of the track was really good and he was having fun. The other spots are really bad and muddy. And that's, you know, being smart right in those situations, going fast where you can and being careful where you have to be.
We've got a couple of riders coming nose to tail toward the finish line. I know we are due in for the white flag here in just a couple moments. I'm not sure if that's the Bithell-Borich battle or not, but whomever it is, they've got an intense ride. And if that is the case, and that's 3rd place back there, Walker Fowler, we could see a 3-way shootout whenever it comes down to the checkers. But again, we got to make sure that's who that is that we're watching on this right now. They are due in right now, as a matter of fact, according to my calculations and the computer technology that I have out there. And we'll see if that was them or not. That was them. That was our leaders that we just saw go through, or almost go through anyway. Bithell and Borich running nose to tail, about 2 seconds flat apart from them. That was Walker Fowler running in the number 3 spot also, guys. So XC1, 7 seconds separating 1st to 3rd right now, Fred. And these are the 3 guys, minus, there's 4 guys I think a lot of people were talking about heading into this season. The 521 of Adam McGill is out of it. Meanwhile, that leaves Bithell, Borich, and Fowler, the ones that everyone was expecting to be the ones to beat, out there battling it out amongst each other.
Yeah, and it's going to be a battle this last lap because all 3 of them guys know that they can win, and they all got it in their heart to win, and they worked hard all winter long, and they're going to give it their all this last lap, and it's really going to be exciting. With them open fields like that, they can see each other, so they know if they're gaining or losing time, and man, oh man, look out last lap. Lappers, they're coming through.
Looking over across the way here from our race day studios here on Vendors Row at the Mudmucker GNCC, the Moose Racing Mudmucker GNCC. A beautiful shot of Florida, typical Florida minus the low-lying water right there. And actually, speaking of typical shots, I think we should be looking towards the turn coming into the Pro Pits here in just a moment, because it should be about time for Chris Borich and Chris Bithell to be making their way in. Still no sign of a 4th place ride checking in. It's still been only Bithell, Borich, and Fowler that have checked in at the finish line now for their 4th laps complete. They are the only riders that have taken the white flag. Well, there have been some coming in behind them, but the lap down. But they're the only riders on the lead lap so far that have checked in with us. And we keep watching down towards that big Lazy Days RV Authority banner down there at that turn coming into the Pro Pit area to see, will Bithell maintain the lead? Will Borich make that pass on him? And there they go. There they go. No change. There goes the number 5, or excuse me, the number 2 in 3rd. That is Walker Fowler, who was about 5 seconds behind. Still running about that same pace as they came through. And, you know, looking back at the finish line, a mile and a half or so, a mile back, there still hasn't been a 4th place position finish. Fred, where is everybody, man? This is not a typical GNCC ATV race, man. We never see these kind of gaps out there, at least in the front of the pack.
Man, I'm not sure what's going on. These first 3 guys have really, really put their homework in, and they've hooked up together, and they're really riding faster than the rest of them. Or if, you know, some guys have had trouble, if maybe the mud holes are soaking them up and they're getting stuck in there, or lappers are getting in the way. But I'll tell you what, them first 3 guys are on the move.
No doubt about it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and take a look. After 3 laps, I'm going to run through all these classes for us real quick. Then we're going to take a quick break and come back and wrap up this 2014 Mud Mucker GNCC on the ATV side of things anyway. Once again, Bithelborge, Fowler, Cole Richardson. This is overall. Cole Richardson was there. Then we had Goings, Merritt, Gallagher was 7th. McClure was 8th. Looks like Braden Henthorne in 9th. Bryce and Neal rounding out the top 10. Now as we go to the XC2 Pro-Am class, Richardson and Goings 1 and 2. Fred Marley back in the number 3 position. And we're back over here in the pits. It looks like that Jay Shadron's getting that thing back going, Fred.
Man, that's a great thing. You can tell he's young. He wants to get back out there. He wants to show these guys that he's for real. And his pit crew's worked hard to get him out there. And he's going to go out there and get some good points for the year.
For sure. Dad pats him on the back. Ronnie Paul out there patting him on the back saying, go get him, boy. You may be down a few minutes, but looking at the gaps and the times, it may not be as big a deal as what you think. Jen Kenyon, what's going on over there right now?
You know, you guys say he's young, he's energetic, he wants to get back out there. That's a really good sign to see a guy that's just starting out in the XC1 class to want to fix those problems, get back out there and ride the track no matter what the conditions are. So hats off to the Shadron pits and all the people that helped him. I did talk to Ronnie Paul over here, and it sounds like they just fixed a blown fuse. So I guess if you look hard enough, you can find the problem and get that fixed and get back out there.
Wow. Something that simple. That's pretty crazy, man. And, you know, he's only 17 years old in this ATV XC1 class. Don't see a whole lot of the young kids stepping up into that class like that, man. I mean, that's pretty impressive on his part. And to be able to still have that want and drive and be 2-3 minutes down, still say, I'm going back out, that's pretty good.
Yep, that's what it's all about, you know, because once you're a quitter, you're always a quitter, and you can tell he's not a quitter because it don't matter where he's at on the track. He's going to go out there and put in his time and learn. Every time he's out there, he's learning something. So my hat's off to him for going back out there.
Well, I said we were going to look at some of these classes, and we'll run these down real quick. We were looking at the Pro-Am, now the College A. We got, looks like Kevin McCone is taking over the lead there. Clint Graff in 2nd. We got Dwight Pollard in 3rd. Levi Cohen up to 4th. Way to go, Levi. Cameron Bruce is 5th. Then Greg Covert, Doug Howarth, Anthony Herring, Billy Hartman, and Mitch Miller rounding out the top 10. Junior A, we got Michael Marley in the 1 spot. Wes Kinsley 2nd. Matthew King in 3rd. Doug Harris is 4th. 5th, Robbie Pegarin, Tommy Vitale. We've also got, or it's Valetti actually, Michael McAvoy in 7th. Chuck Norris is 8th. Ben Bruce in 9th. And Adam Parks rounding out the top 10. Vet A, Todd Demery continues to lead. Matt Pearson 2nd. Denny Thompson in the number 3 spot. It is Bill Marstiller in 4th. James McCart in 5th. Walter Schumacher in 6th. Then we got Thomas Jansky 7th. Brad Breedlove is 8th. 9th is Nicholas Cameli, and Robert Keith rounds out the top 10. Senior AB, John Glottis Sr. in the lead there. Jeffrey Flynn 2nd. Aaron Delancey 3rd. Leroy Shook 4th. Rusty Repass rounds out your top 5. College B, Tyler, looks like McDaniel in the lead. Michael Spalding in 2nd. Anthony Barnes running in the number 3 spot. Jeremy Hill is 4th. Matt Thomas rounds out your top 5. Then it's Corey Silverthorne, followed by Braden Eichard, along with Brad Pearson. Also, Dustin Burkhammer and Bo Cagle to round out the top 10. Junior B class, Simon Bissell, followed by James Black. We got Cameron Rogers. We got Brent Ertl, Brian Toney, Jesse Kelly, John Krebs, and also Kenneth Kelly. That's your 8 in the Junior B class. In the Vet B class, Phil Cole continues to lead. Matthew Bender with Jeremy Gouchard in 3rd. We got Daniel Webb in 4th. Stephen Barber is 5th. Thomas Barnett is 6th. Cliff Bow in 7th. And Sam Lamp rounds out the field of 8 there in the Vet B class. And an hour and 45 minutes into this one, we are under a white flag. Your leader, once again, as we roll through the Moose Racing Mud Mucker GNCC, Chris Bithell with only a slight 2-second lead over the defending and 5-time GNCC champ Chris Borge. Walker Fowler another 5 seconds. And we'll be back with more GNCC Live on RacerTV.com right after this.
Heat, so maybe he's just playing the lay back out of the roost card right now. And this last lap, he's going to try tightening it up, and we're going to see a three-way battle coming in.
You know, that's something that we often see. And here's something to really think about there. You know, we've seen a lot of maturing out of Walker Fowler over the last couple of years. And a lot of that comes to be with being in a position where Chris Bithell is right now, or where Chris Borich is in first or second place, trying to bide your time and trying to look for that or win or keep ahead of the guys or whatever the case may be. Walker might have learned something off Chris Borich over the last few years, and you might have pointed something out there. He might be laying back waiting for this last lap, and it could be a Walker. It could be Fowler. He could Fowler you now instead of Borich you. You never know.
Yeah, you know, you can't win the race unless you put you in a position to be there at the end. And, you know, Walker can just be kind of hanging back, like I said. But, you know, Borich always does that every race, so he knows Borich is going to do that. And if he can stay with Borich, when Borich makes his pounce, you know, maybe Walker's going to pounce with him. So you never know.
That's it. And the big question still remains, though. You said it a few moments ago. Will they really be able to get around Chris Bithell, man? I mean, he has seemingly ridden a flawless race so far, man. I mean, he got off to a great start. Chris Borich got the whole shot. He was third coming out of the first turn, but into the second turn, he ducked to the inside and moved into that number 2 spot and basically got around Borich and hasn't looked back since that point on. If he did, it was probably in a turn to make sure that was still Chris Borich behind him.
No, Chris has really been riding a good, smart race. You know, he's out front, keeping his bike clean, keeping his radiators clean, and, you know, he just is doing what he has to do to keep in the lead right now. He may be slower in one section than Borich, and Borich may get up on him, and then he's faster in another section, so Chris is doing a good job staying out front, and like you say, last lap, I'm sure he knows where he thinks Borich is faster than him, and that's where he's going to be on his toes trying to keep ahead of him.
Now, you know, we talked about lap times and that Chris Borich had been turning some of the faster laps. Get this right here. On that last lap around Fred Andrews, Chris Bithell, a 24:16, matches Chris Borich's fastest lap time. Chris Borich's lap time that time around, 2 seconds behind Chris Bithell, 24:16.5. Walker Fowler, another 5.3 seconds back. His lap time, 24:16.10. Talk about splitting hairs right there. Those guys virtually running identical speeds, only a half second separating their speed amongst the three.
Yeah, you know, they're all running that same speed, and that's really hard to believe they can go that fast for that long and be coming in that close. But, you know, it takes one lap guy on one little section that could tighten them up, and then it is on.
And you bring up a very interesting point. We're late in the race now. A little less than 200 ATV riders in the afternoon race here today. So the track, it's a little longer track, 11.2, 12 miles, something like that, here on this Racer X final lap. And with that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for things to take place here, Fred. And again, Fowler, the man probably in the best position. But I know another rider that we probably haven't spoken a whole lot about today. What about Cole Richardson? He's a guy from up around your neck of the woods. I know you're not an ATV guy per se, but at the same time, he's one guy that probably has bleeped in on your radar a time or two up there, huh?
Yep, look at that. You got an XC2 guy in 4th place. You know, that just shows you that he's on the move, is what it shows you, you know. But no, he's doing good. You know, he's fighting for that front position. He's showing people that he wants to be in that XC1 class next year, I'm sure. I mean, he's going forward, and he's catching people, and it keeps him motivated, and he's doing an awesome job out there.
He is. He's running 4th right now. Richardson, McClure is 5th overall, and Josh Merritt back in the number 6 spot. Braden Henthorne is 7th. Bryson Neal is up to 8th. The kid on the move. What's his lap times looking like? He's still in the 26-minute range. Actually, he's a 25-minute range rider, I think. But regardless, Neal's moving up through the pack. He's not going to catch those front guys by no stretch of the imagination, but yet he's making some waves out there today. Johnny Gallagher is 9th. And the 10th place is the 17 of Fred Marley right now, which is now 2nd place, and that kind of threw me a little bit. He's 2nd place in the XC2 Pro-Am. What happened to Marshall Goings? Goings, I don't see him in 3rd. I see Tommy Kuntz has moved into 3rd in that class. I see Martin Christopherson from up out of New York, a big Wainoa rider up there. He is checked in that number 4 spot of the XC2 Pro-Am, and Goings is all the way back to 15th, but he hasn't checked in for lap 4 complete yet, so still questioning and wondering what's going on with Marshall Goings. As far as top amateur honors are today, you know, we've been watching in years past a lot that College A class. Well, today it looks like it's Junior A 22-plus class, and the number 31 of Michael Marley, who got the whole shot, never looked back in this class, it doesn't look like. Marley is running 19th overall in amongst the XC1, the XC2, and everybody else out there. And it's looking like he is looking at top honors today as far as amateur. Now, that could change. We don't know what's going to happen in this final lap. But as I was beginning to allude to there a few moments ago, Fred, I got a little sidetracked there on a couple of different things. But the thing is, you mentioned the lap traffic. And being this late into the race, and for guys like Fowler and for guys like Borch and Bithell, you know, only a little less than 200, a 12-mile course. It's taken a while for these guys to catch up the lap traffic. But this last lap will probably be the time that they get the meat of the lap traffic. And, again, it goes back to referring to, again, this, again, could be the best spot for Walker Fowler to be in heading into this last lap. And then, again, who knows? I mean, what does this Florida terrain offer for these guys? But I'm in the same boat as you. I think lap traffic is going to play a little bit of a role in this one.
You know, normally in lap traffic, too, when you catch lap traffic earlier in the day, you're not so nervous about it because you know you got all day. But now, even if you're winning, you're catching a guy the last lap, you start to get a little nervous. You got to actually calm yourself down and just say, you know, I can't get around them. Well, then they can't get around me either. So let's just calm down, let this come to us, and make it happen where you can.
That's a good point, man. I never thought about it that way. If you look at it from a perspective of if you're catching the lappers early, it doesn't make you nearly as nervous because it's something that you get accustomed to early on in the race. It's the last lap when you start catching. Yeah, I could see that really starting to get things a little nervous out. But for some reason, something tells me right now, Bithell's not nervous. Borch is not nervous. And the only thing that Walker Fowler is right now is anxious to try to get around both those guys before the checkers.
Yeah, those guys are on the gas, and, you know, last thing they're worried about is thinking something like that's going to happen. They're just pushing all their way to the finish, picking good lines, you know, not trying anything new, and just motoring on to the finish. You know, like here, we got a good section right here. This guy here is stuck in the mud here on TV right now. You know, if those guys come around that corner and there's only one line right there, you know, they may have to jump off in that deep water or just wait their turn to pass him. But, you know, I'd have to think they just kind of push around the outside and keep on going.
Wow. Is that whoop field that we talked about was getting they were all the way over to the right side, and now they're all the way to the right there? That's pretty interesting to see how that has really taken its toll on the track and that part of it right there, Fred. And, you know, as we check this one, we are only about 5 minutes out from expecting to see a checker flag. And now is as good a time as any, I think, to take a look at that last lap Can-Am recap of the opening round, the Mud Mucker GNCC. And, of course, as we started off today, Chris Borch, green flag flew, and Borch, man, took that Suzuki machine right into the first turn, out of the first turn, across the whole shot stripe, took the early lead in this one into turn 2, saw a great battle between Walker Fowler and Chris Bithell for the number 2 spot. Bithell was able to tuck up underneath and secure the number 2 spot. Shortly after that, he was able to take over the lead. Then, of course, he's led pretty much the biggest gap we've seen is about 2.3 seconds, I think, throughout the entire lap, throughout the entire race. And as we roll toward the finish line right now, we know that it's got to be getting more and more intense. The big question is, as we recap this race, the 3 that have basically separated themselves from the rest of the field. First lap, they were all nose to tail. And we've seen now several minutes in between the 3rd and 4th place positions in the XC1 Pro class as well as the XC2 Pro-Am class. Now the question is, we know who our top 3 are going to be, minus any mechanical issues or anything crazy like that. It's now who's going to do it, who wants it the most, and who can dig the deepest to make it happen.
You know, 2 guys just flashed across that screen, and they were going fast, nose to tail. Man, I'm not sure if Bithell was still ahead of Borch or not in that situation. We're going to have to wait till they get a little closer so we can see.
Yeah, generally these guys wear a little different color helmet or different color riding gear or something that you distinguish these guys from a distance. But unfortunately, they're all brown today, man. Not even sponsors are getting much love in this mud, that's for sure.
Yeah, they all didn't start out wearing the same color gear, but they are now, that's for sure.
And I'm amazed. I mean, 3 laps ago, 2 laps ago what that particular section of this racetrack looked like. That is, guys, what mile marker are we looking at right there? About the 3? I believe that might be out near the 3-mile marker. That's actually the 7-mile marker they're telling me right now. The 7-mile marker, what we've seen, what looked like a manicured motocross whoop section has now turned into a, look, they're barely creeping through that thing. Before we saw them going through full throttle, and now it's a whole different ball game out there. I mean, you got to wonder, is that water hole going to be faster than that whoop section now?
Now that's one of them survival spots we were talking about. You're just hoping to get through there without getting stuck. And you know, I'm not sure that water would be any better. You never know how deep those holes are.
Well, we should be seeing our leaders out in that big open field section right now, motoring their way toward the finish line as Chris Bithell, Chris Borch, and Walker Fowler. Last check, we're still running nose to tail virtually 1, 2, and 3 through the pro pits and off into the wild, wondrous Florida terrain here, and trying to make things happen. We've presented a lot of different options and variables that could possibly arise throughout the course of this Racer X final lap. Although we can only tell you educatedly, we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. But history tells us that Chris Borch is going to be tough to stop getting around Chris Bithell right now.
You know what, though? I think all these guys have been thinking about that all winter, and they all have got that in their head that they're not going to let this happen. You know,
I think you're right.
They've all figured out that, nope, we're not going to let it happen, and we're going to see if it can happen.
I think this could be one of the most challenging years that Chris Borch has ever seen. One of 2 things are going to happen here this year, Fred Andrews. Either Chris Borch is going to see his toughest year, or he's going to see his most dominant year, because he's getting so frustrated with everybody talking about how competitive everybody is on him. I think he's finally getting into his crawl a little bit. I think he wants to try to make some statements this year.
Yeah, I think Chris is going to be, he's going to be strong no matter what. But, them other guys are really, really want it, and I don't know. It's going to be tough.
Less than a minute. We should be seeing these guys come in. There comes some riders. There's some steam and some smoke coming off some machines. I don't know if that's the Killer Bees or not. They're still pretty tight, but they're not pushing like they normally would. But with the steam coming out of them, you couldn't blame them for not doing that if that is the case.
Yeah, they're both throwing off some steam, that's for sure. I'm not sure which one's which. With all that mud on them, so we're going to have to wait till they cross the finish line here. And here it is.
There it is. Checkers are coming out, my friends, and at the finish line, your winner is going to be, according to my calculations right here, one Chris Borch. Just made history, my friends. He is now solely and alone the winningest ATV racer of all time. Win number 68 for Chris Borch right there on the final lap. And just exactly what we expected to see happen. The Borch comes out of the back pocket on that final lap, and it is a done deal, my friends. Look at that big smile on Chris Bithell's face right now, and you know that's about as happy as I've seen Chris Borch in a long time. And look at the steam coming off these machines. The finish line could not have come at a better time. I don't know if these machines would have lasted much longer, Fred.
Yeah, you see as they both came off the finish line there, they both congratulated each other, and yeah, that steam's coming off. Chris was really eating a lot of roost that lap from Bithell, and it clogged that radiator up, and you're right, Rodney. I'm not sure they would have made another lap or 2.
Well, I know that Walker Fowler has checked in at the number 3 spot. He was 40 seconds behind these guys. Lap times that time around. Remember, 24:16 was the fastest lap? That time around, Chris Borch turned a 24-minute .17 lap time, just barely over a 24-minute lap time. And that, my friends, was about, 11 seconds or so, about 3 or so seconds faster than that of Chris Bithell. That is where we see the difference of a second and a half there at the finish line. And we see the big smile of Chris Borch down there at this Moose Racing Mud Mucker GNCC. I know Jen Kenyon is standing by. Fred, thinking about this one right now, man, I know that we've got a lot of exciting things to listen to here in a few moments, but what do you think is going to be what they're going to say?
I think they're both going to say how much they enjoyed racing here today, and how close they were, and how much battling they had, and how much fun it was. And I mean, you're not going to see a sad face in any of these top 3 guys. I guarantee that.
Well, I tell you, man, celebrations have already started. You know, the funny thing about it is, look at that. Can you tell right now that Chris Borch realizes he is the has the most wins of any ATV racer in history right now. He's tied with Barry Hawk, who has 68 wins on both motorcycles and ATVs. I mean, that's pretty amazing stuff right there.
Oh, it sure is. That's a lot of years of racing, that's for sure.
And with that, we're going to watch what's going on down here at the finish line right now. Chris Borch, look. I mean, he is talking. It's like he just spent a day in the office or something like that. Just came out of a board meeting talking about the awesome board meeting they just had.
You know, right now he's got all that adrenaline pumping. He won the race, and he's not even worried about being tired. Give him 5 or 10 minutes after the podium. He's going to want to sit down, just relax, and gather his thoughts, because there's not a muscle in his body that's not sore.
I can imagine, and I'm sure Chris Bithel's probably feeling the same way, man. I know a lot of accolades going to Chris Borch right now, but our hats off to Chris Bithel as well, man. Put together a phenomenal ride today, and you know, just unfortunately for him, and he's been in that scenario and situation on more than one occasion, man. He got Borch. That's just the simple way to put it.
You know, all three of them guys rode their hearts out, and my hat goes off to all of them. You know, Walker could have got one of them lap riders we were talking about and lost a little bit of time, or you know, it's just Borch and Bithel could have got together and just, you know, made it happen. So they all did good. They're all going to be sore. They're all going to be tired. They're all going to be ready for a good shower here shortly.
I'm sure they could use a shower after that one, and Jen Kenyon's going to have to bear through it as we congratulate Chris Borch on not only the big win to open up the season, but the biggest win of all, number 68, the one that puts him ahead of Bill Balance. Jen Kenyon?
Thanks, Rodney. I'm having a little bit of issues here. We are down here with Chris Borch, our winner. I actually just asked Chris if he knew how much of a part of history he was tying Barry Hawk's 68 wins, and he said, I had no idea. So obviously this man here, all you're thinking about is winning championships. How did that race go for you today?
It was good. It was definitely pretty brutal. I mean, it wasn't sand whooped out like we're normally used to down here in Florida. It was just like mud bogs everywhere, and just trying to be smooth and patient, and just try to stay out of the roost as much as possible just to make the bike to last. But she was puffing a little bit on the way in here. She was overheating, and yeah, I mean, like you said, we ended up, I guess, tying Barry Hawk. So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we saw you and Bithel were coming in here. Both of your bikes were smoking. You guys were obviously pushing it to the limit. The last time we saw you guys here through the pro pits, Bithel was actually out front. So tell us on that last lap where you got him, where you pulled the Borch.
I don't even know where. I mean, there was just so many lines, and I think he bobbled a little bit, and I was just able to get a good run on him and get by him. And then the last lap here, Stick actually came up, yanked my tether out, and he ended up passing me back, and then I was able to get him back out in the fields again and get the win. But yeah, he's riding well. Everybody, like I said, it was just it wasn't the brutal sand pounding Florida we're normally used to, but it was just more of a survival and just get through this race. But track crew did an awesome job for how much rain we had down here in Florida, and can't thank those guys enough.
All right, well, you did it. You survived round one. You're on top heading into 2014. Congratulations on a big win out there.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to make our way over to our second place finisher, Chris Bithel. Chris, you're cleaning up. You're getting all pretty for the cameras, but it looks like that bottom half of your body's pretty dirty.
Yeah, it was muddy out there. You know, we kind of knew what was going to happen, but no, I didn't expect that. I mean, there was times, actually 3/4 of the time, I didn't even know if I was on the track. You know, you're just kind of going. There's no arrows half the time. It is just crazy out there. It's just nuts.
You know, of all the guys out front, you didn't make as many pit stops as everybody else. It seems like you came in, you got your fuel, your necessities, and you went. We talked to your pit crew. They said they tried to give you goggles at one point, and you were just like, no way. You know, typical Chris Bithel, I got my eye set on the prize. You led a lot of that race. Was it a lot easier for you? I know there was probably lappers out there, but being out in front kind of gave you an advantage here today.
You know, sometimes I think it helped, but keeping my goggles clean and stuff like that, it was, you know, pretty much didn't really do too much. But, you know, you know, once I got into second, I was able to follow, but I was taking a lot of roost, and I was able to pick up the pace and follow and watch some of their lines. But, no, I led the whole thing, and I knew that I come in for fuel at right about an hour, and I know I can make an hour and a half on a tank of fuel. So I knew I was good on fuel, and there was really no other reason to stop. Just hammer down, and, yeah, it was a good run.
Yeah, it was an exciting finish to watch you guys. You know, we have 12 more rounds to go. You got some great points here for the championship. You and Chris and Walker and everybody else, you guys are going to be really close this season, and I know all the fans are really excited to watch it all go down.
Yeah, it was just a really good race, really fun time. Me and Chris were up there most of the time, just having fun and just hammer down. It come into the last couple turns, the last about mile of finish, and we were neck and neck, and this thing blew out a little antifreeze, and I backed it down about half throttle. I knew I had Walker by then. I said it's better to finish second than it is to break down and have a mile to go. This is my best finish ever in Florida, and really I'm so pumped right now.
All right, well, congratulations. You have every reason to be. Good job out there.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to make our way over to Walker Fowler, our third-place finisher. Looks like he's changing clothes, but we're going to grab him anyway. Walker, you survived round one here. It was a little bit muddy, but you rode an awesome race. Tell us about it.
Yeah, you can't even get upset about it, even if I didn't do well. It was just fun. Didn't really get stuck. Just the last lap, just had a little bit of a bonehead move, got out of line, clipped a tree, bike shut off, and bike no happy after that. So she was hot, but everybody else's were running hot too, and just wish I could have been there those last couple miles. I think I might have had something, but it was fun, got good points, get up on the box, thank everybody that needs it, and fans were awesome. Had my whole pit crew that was in the woods did a phenomenal job all day. Only reason that last mistake was just mine. So, start off the year on a good note.
Yeah, for sure. I know there was a sea of blue all over the place here. It sounds like this round especially, you really needed to use that team, and you guys have an even bigger team. In fact, we're actually waiting for your teammate Cole Richardson to come in for a great finish. Hopefully we'll see him come out on top. Seems like you guys are really pulling together. You've got your program pretty dialed in.
Definitely, his parents, my parents, and just a bunch of friends and family and other crew members. It's awesome to have him out there for me, and 1 minute later it's coming, working good for him. So I think I think Cole actually, he got the win. Maybe I saw him come in, and it was good. So I had fun. I'm shocked. It was actually fun.
I'm really excited to see the smile on your face.
Yeah, I'd been really down on myself this year. Been down here since before the new year, and I think I was just getting burned out. Once we hit the track, just kind of got loose and just I rode good. So I'm feeling good. I'm happy.
Well, that's an awesome attitude to have leaving the first round here. We're going to be back in Georgia and ready to go. So congratulations on a podium finish. You got some great solid points heading into round two.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, Rodney and Fred, we're going to send it up to you guys while we find our XC2 winner, Cole Richardson.
All righty, sounds good. I know that Cole, a phenomenal rider. Freddie, one of Walker's teammates there, he comes across the line in fourth place overall. Adjusted time-wise, trying to see how far he was behind him. He was about 7 minutes behind on adjusted time. As we take a look at some of these other things, we talk about top amateurs and so forth. College A rider Kevin McCohen had I take that back. Vet A rider had moved into a top amateur spot. Remember, we had a junior A guy. Now we got a Vet A 28-plus guy heading into the final lap. That's Todd Demery out of Versailles, Indiana, a former pro rider about 5 years or so ago. He's 42 years old, running the Vet A 28-plus class right now, whipping the socks off of him and looking like he could possibly be top amateur. I myself, Fred, think that's pretty impressive, man. I mean, and again, we talk about GNCC, and I've said it for so many. It's an everyman sport. Any and everybody can do it. Yeah, there are others that exceed and go far and beyond what the levels of many others do, but there are are they ready down at the finish line right now? I'm getting some chatter in my ear right now. I know that we're getting ready. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, Fred. We'll talk a little bit more here in just a second. Let's head on back down to the finish line and get a word in with this young man, Cole Richardson, right now to see. Oh, okay. Now we're not ready. Okay. I'm totally misunderstood. Sorry, Jeremy. We're going to have to get a little better. I'm going to have to get, huh?
We hit a left rider.
Hit a left rider. We hit a left rider. There you go. See, that's the last lap about it. Okay. Now we're ready. We're going to send it back down to the finish line.
All right, Rodney, we found the missing man. We're here with Cole Richardson, XC2 Pro-Am winner for today. How does it feel to get the win in your debut race here in Florida?
It was definitely a blast, especially for this track, because anything could have happened because it's a big mud hole. And it just had to be smart and pick good lines, and if you came out front, you came out front, and I guess I did that today.
And you started off and you just kept picking your way up and moving through the pack. So tell us what your strategy was. In order to make your way up to, what'd you end up overall, do you know?
I heard fourth.
That's pretty darn good. Tell us about how you got up to that point.
I had a decent start, I flipped, got dropped the last, and just started picking people off in the fields and let them make the mistakes and get stuck first. And then I ended up, me and Marshall were together, and I got around them in the field and in the woods a couple times and just rode my race from there and picked good lines.
All right, well, that sounds like a pretty good strategy. Congratulations on a huge win here, and we can't wait to see what the rest of the season unfolds with you.
Thank you.
All right, Rodney, there he is, our XC2 Pro-Am champ today.
Wow, that's pretty impressive stuff to see him be able to pull something like that off. And I tell you, Fred, it's been a spectacular way to start out the 2014 season. The AMSOIL GNCC Series presented by Maxxis and AMA National Championship, Round 1. The Moose Racing Mud Mucker GNCC, a brand new place for us to come into. We had no idea what to expect, and I think everybody got a surprise today.
Yeah, Rodney, you're 100% right. You know, that best part is we got 12 more rounds of excitement to go. You know, we came in here not knowing what was going to happen. Nobody knew what the track was going to be like. Everybody thought, oh, it's going to be a big mud hole. Won't be any fun. It'll be like Palaca. Well, they were 100% wrong. The track was good. It was a smart man race. There's a lot of new sections, a lot of fun fields out there, it looked like to me. And, man, it's only good things to come for us.
I think you're absolutely right. And after last season and the mud and the rain that we saw last year, whatever we get thrown at us this year, we're going to be ready for, whether it be sunshine, whether it be rain and mud. I think it's going to be probably one of the best, if not the best, season to date, man. I mean, the groundwork is laid for, I think, the best ever, man.
Yeah, you know, and I wish we had Racer TV back when I did it. You know, this is a great way. You know, we'd have to wait till Motor World come out 2 weeks later just to see ourselves on TV if we could even get a glimpse. You know, these guys are so fortunate to be on live feed. People can be at home. People can see things happen as it happens. And it's amazing how far the sport has come since when I first started. And it's awesome. You know, it's only going to get better.
And Fred, you're only going to get better, man. I appreciate you coming in and stepping in today and working with us, and I look forward to working with you all season long, all right?
Well, thanks for having me, and, man, we got a good race coming up here tomorrow, so make sure you watch Racer TV again tomorrow.
That's right, Racer TV tomorrow at 1, and then we'll be back live again from the Ricky Carmichael Supercross from Daytona Speedway coming up on Monday, so you'll want to check your racertv.com listings for that. And this GNCC Live program wrapping up right now. Again, congratulations to Chris Borch. He does it. He makes history here today, not only taking the win, but also win number 68. Chris Bithell in second, Walker Fowler in third. Jared McClure took fourth, and your fifth place ride went to the number 20, the rookie of Josh Merritt. That's going to do it from here at the Moose Racing Mud Mucker GNCC. On behalf of Fred Andrews and Jen Kenyon, I'm Rodney Tomlin. So long, everybody.